Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yes. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate that. Nah, but seriously, we got a heck of a show lined up for you today. Obviously, you can see from the rundown, we're gonna talk some boxing, but it's that second topic that kind of has the sports world like ablaze right now. And so we're gonna dig into that. Got some good commentary on it. Yeah, we're really gonna get into that. Obviously, Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever, they're on a hot streak, and they got a huge game tomorrow against Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. That should be big. And of course, we're going to finish up with some NFL talk because, I got to talk some football, and Dak Prescott is going to be what it is. So before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. All right, team. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. And I know G's been chomping at the bit since last week to talk some boxing. We hadn't gotten around to it. There's been different things going on in the sports world. Of course, we had to hit the JJ Redick talk and hit some other stuff. But we're going to get right to it. Make sure we got it on the rundown as the very first topic so we wouldn't skip it. So let's get right to it. G, you want to open up? Let's talk some boxing, man.
Yes. I think boxing coming back around. I look at like all the fights. Javante pretty much locking up the 135. There's a few other people that's out there that's boxing is back, right?
I agree.
It's back. It's entertaining. It's a great sport to watch. And the people, my the local guy, Tank Davis is giving the people what they want, right?
Be more stand up, right?
Yes, sir. Knockouts and backflips. And so very exciting to watch Tank Davis. I'm really, really proud of the guy. Like, but yeah, 30-0. I mean, I don't know if people got a chance to watch it, but it's definitely had everyone on the edge. All his fights does. They have you on the edge because you're like, damn, he's losing early on.
Yeah.
And his style is just weigh you down, and then it's lights out. I had the opportunity to go back, and I had some time. I went back and just really quick watch the highlights, and a lot of his fights end between the 6th and the 8th round. I know we talked about this before the fight.
Yeah,
and I told you what was going to happen. The muscle mass. He looked like he definitely looked like an opponent worth putting your money on. There's a lot of people lost a lot of money, but at the end of the day, man, he's knocked his lights out as usual.
Yeah, per usual. Was he 30-0 with 28 KOs, I believe now?
Yeah, 97% knockout.
That's
phone was ringing off the hook after he knocked him out. Like a lot of people didn't believe in Tank, and I don't know if Bruce is on yet, but he'll probably come on and talk about the mustard seed of doubt.
Right, mustard seed.
Mustard seed of doubt. Yeah.
Well, so I look at that, right? So remember when we talked about it pre-fight, one of the things I talked about was just the physical size, right? The disparity in physical size. And I'm saying, okay, this is a guy who's considerably bigger. He should be able to lean on him, maybe take some of Tank's legs away, really walk him down when you got that, when you got a legitimate size advantage like that. And so going back and watching the fight and then seeing some of the highlights post watching the fight, it's like, why did he spend so much time like backing into the corner and going to the ropes? I mean, obviously we know Tank is a killer. We know he's got brutal knockout power in both hands. However, like Frank Martin, he's not a weak dude. He's got some knockout power, not like Tank, but I would have tried to, at least until he backed me up, I would have tried to walk him down. And it's like he tried to outbox Tank. And so there's two things here, right? Tank, obviously, we seen the killer instinct at the end. When it's time to close the show, he closes the show like very few others in the game. However, with that said, he also has elite boxing skill, right? Like I say, he's not some small Deontay Wilder. He's a legitimate elite technician in there. And so, to your point, with the fights ending generally between the 6th and the 8th rounds, is like remember how they used to say like Floyd Mayweather takes the time and downloads his opponent? It's like him, Terrence Crawford, now Canelo, the very elite fighters. A lot of times it appears they're starting slow. They might be losing the fight, but what they're doing is getting an idea of what their opposition is doing and how they're going to counter that. And to your point, also, like we saw the clips of before the fight. He's literally in the locker room with his trainer, and he's practicing what he is going to utilize to end the fight. Right, so. He watches the film, he trains on it all camp, and then they go over it. Okay, when situation A happens, this is what you're going to use to counter that, and that's going to be lights out. And to your point, I was so impressed because I remember you told me about that. I was so impressed seeing that, and then watching how, he got into the fight. Frank Martin appears to be winning. He's moving well. And again, if you're a boxer, it's hard for you to get away from what you do. But I would have tried to walk him down. But yeah, he's moving well. He's racking up points, so on and so forth. He's doing all that. And then Tank starts to turn the tide. And then as we saw, lights out. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy part is you could see Frank Martin right before he got hit with the coup de grace. He was all his hands was down and he looked like he was away. And Tank was like, let me help you.
Yeah, it's a good sport. It's a good sport if you're a Tank fan. I mean,
no doubt.
There's a lot of good fighters out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this kid is ducking any fights. I don't think he's
not. I like that.
Yeah, he's a big ticket guy. I think he's on tap to sign like a $500 million contract with Amazon. So that's just hearsay. It could be upwards of more than 500.
It could be 6 fights. I think if he gets a percent of the gate, then it'll be a lot more because we know he's a draw.
Yeah, he's a draw. And then there was discussion or talks of him actually his next fight being in the Raiders stadium versus MGM.
He could sell that out.
Yeah. So they trying to increase capacity for his fights because everybody come out to watch him. It's a good showmanship. I think he did a good job of displaying Frank Martin. He did a really good job of showing him off and his skill, and just putting him on display versus other fighters, right? Like he shared the screen with him, and you wouldn't see one without the other during the last couple of weeks, and so I thought that was a really good.
Yeah, they did a good job selling the fight.
Definitely beneficial for Frank, who of course took that L.
Yeah, yeah, he did. So I got a question for you. What do you think everybody wants to see? You think they want to see the knockout or they want to see the backflip?
Somebody said, like, just imagine getting knocked out and you wake up to him doing a backflip from the top.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Because you might not even see the knockout coming. You just wake up and you're like, damn, he got me. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that'd be wild. But yeah, Tank is that dude. Did you see the rumor that he allegedly sent something to Mayweather challenging him to a fight? I don't believe that, but I saw that somewhere.
I saw on what was it? It Is What It Is. They talked about him, a dream fight for the fans.
What's up, fam? We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. That second topic. I know that's what you're here for. We're gonna get to it.
Yeah, they talked about the dream fight of Mayweather versus Tank, because they both appears to have like a chip on their shoulders, or there's some animosity between the two. So,
well,
I think
sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you good.
No, I was just gonna say there's no way Floyd is gonna do that. One, what is he, like 47 years old now?
Yeah.
Even though he's in supreme condition, and that's one. I was never a fan of how Floyd conducted the latter half of his career in terms of really manipulating the opposition, manipulating when he's going to fight guys, how he's going to fight guys, blah, blah, blah. But I am a huge fan of the level of discipline that he exhibits toward his craft and being the best boxer that he can be. Apparent from what I heard, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He's never engaged in drugs or anything like that. So he's showing that that discipline, and what he says when he's training, that hard work, dedication, it pays off because he doesn't even fight anymore. I saw a picture the other day of Marcos Maidana and Floyd Mayweather, and Marcos Maidana, he don't look like he was ever a professional fighter. You know what I'm saying? And Floyd Mayweather Jr. is still totally ripped. So I believe due to the limited amount of damage he took physically in the ring, Floyd Mayweather, if he wanted to, he could come out and take that fight, and them dudes would make $1 billion on that fight.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah.
that said, Floyd is not going to get anywhere near anyone who could possibly, you know what I'm saying? He's not doing that. He's just that's not him. He's not built that way.
I think at this point, it wouldn't be a bad show, right? 50-0 versus 30-0.
Mm-hmm.
Best of the past versus the next guy up.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think that would sell. Definitely would sell. So it depends on them making it happen, and greed gets involved in those things. And
you know who can make it happen? I just thought about it. I know who can make it happen. Turki Al-Sheikh, the Saudi minister of sport, he could make it happen because they got endless bread over there.
Yeah.
So if you tell Floyd, hey, here's a bill, you tell Tank 500 mil, they gonna go do it.
I think it'd be a good sunset for Floyd, right? It'd be a good sunset for Floyd. I definitely would have Tank.
I would too. At that point, the youth and the vicious power, and again, Tank is not just he's such a technician in there. That's why I got a lot of respect for him. At first, I was just like, this dude just throw bombs. But the more you watch him, you're like, yeah, this is a very skilled fighter.
Yeah, he get hit too. I mean, he also gets hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His next fight's supposed to be Lomachenko in November. I heard talks of that going down. So
yeah, that's what I was going to bring up next. Who you would like to see him fight next? Because for me, it's between Loma and Shakur, but I don't know that Shakur can stand up to Tank's power. If he gets hit, it might be. I mean, so far, darn near everybody's been night if they get hit by Tank. So I don't know if Shakur is ready for that. I believe he can outbox him, but I think from what I've seen, it's only a matter of time before Tank gets to you. He's going to figure out a way to get to you. And I also don't know if Shakur Stevenson has the power to keep Tank off of him.
Yeah. Yeah. They said he don't like to get hit. So.
Well, I would presume no one wants to get hit by Tank.
Yeah, absolutely. But just in boxing in general, like he backs up a lot. I want to see him fight because he was talking a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see, how Tank, what would be his game plan to somebody who runs around the ring like he does. Because you saw when he's fighting Frank Martin, he was, he closing in, he's stalking him in the entire fight.
Yeah.
Closing the gaps, and he pretty much dominated the fight from
cut off his movement.
From a spacing standpoint. But he also was getting hit. So I'm curious to see how he does with someone like Shakur, who's extremely technical with the gloves.
Yeah.
And he likes to back up. So that'll be interesting. I think Frank gave him some problems, stole some rounds because he was, kind of baiting them in and unloading, but it's water under the bridge when you get knocked out.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. But again, that's the problem. Like you may be able to pot shot him. You may be able to outbox him, which I believe Shakur can do, which again we saw Frank Martin doing, but it's only a matter of time before Tank, number one, figures you out technically, and number two, realizes, wait a minute, I could walk him down. His power can't hurt me. And that's the problem with Shakur. I don't think Shakur wants that fight right now. I don't think he's big enough or strong enough yet. He might need to grow into his man body another year or so. I don't think he wants that fight. Again, I have no issues. I love Shakur. I think he's so sound. His skill set is so awesome. But when you're dealing with a guy who can box and punch, that's probably not the one you want. Not when you're young. Yeah, that's my thought. All right, so let's go to, what was that, the co-main event, or was it the undercard, David Benavidez?
Undercard.
Okay, so on the undercard of the Tank fight, David Benavidez fought Alexander Gzik, I think he was former light heavyweight champion, and that was for I think an interim light heavyweight championship, and that was David Benavidez's first fight in the weight division. And that dude, man, I like him a lot. He's got what Mike Tyson gave him the name, the Mexican Monster. He's got a lot of skills. He's got a lot of power. He's another guy, undefeated, knocked out a lot of dudes, but he knocked them all out at 168, super middleweight. But the problem here now becomes he wanted the Canelo fight, and Canelo is taking the Floyd model. He's trying to duck that fight, literally left his promoter so he wouldn't have to fight David Benavidez. But David Benavidez, super skilled. He's got knockout power, but the question is, can that knockout power carry all the way up to 175? So we see the highlights of this fight here, and he was landing some good stuff, flush on Gvozdyk, but you know those shots might have put people down at 168. He wasn't able to get that done at 175, and so I think, I mean, he's a big dude at 168, but I'm also looking and I'm like, just everybody is not like a weight room warrior, but look at the difference in the body type at 175. I think Benavidez, to me, he looks like he probably needs to get stronger. He looks like he needs to put in some work, with the nutrition and with the with the weights. But I mean, his body's been pretty much like that his whole career. But he has very fast hands for that weight division, and he's got power. But now we have the problem of, okay, he wins the fight, he beats Gvozdyk, and it's like, what next, right? Is Canelo gonna take this fight next? I don't think so. So now you're in a situation where you got to fight the winner, most likely, of Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, which is going to be, whoo! Bivol is an excellent technician. Artur Beterbiev is the other boogeyman in boxing besides Tank. So Tank is what, 30-0 with 28 knockouts. Beterbiev is 20-0 with 20 knockouts at light heavy. I mean, his hands are destructive. So those two, I think, are scheduled to fight in like September, October, something like that. And so, and now we're waiting to see, okay, is Benavidez going to fight the winner of that? I think the winner is going to be Beterbiev. And I don't think that, I really don't think that Benavidez wants that fight. I mean, he wants that fight because he's got a warrior spirit, and I love that. But I don't think he should want that fight. That's kind of my take on it. Have you seen enough of Benavidez to kind of form an opinion on him? Do you
I
have any
watched that.
thoughts on
I
him?
watched that last fight, and a
Okay.
lot of people got up and walked away. I thought his
It was
hands
all
were,
waiting for Tank.
yeah, pretty much,
Yeah.
pretty much. But I thought the guy that he fought was and it looked like he was in really, really good shape.
Mm-hmm.
To be that age, I think he's like 38 or something like that.
Yeah. All those
Older
Eastern
guy.
European fighters are old because they can't get over here to fight until they're like 30 or 32 years old. So by the time we see them, they're all getting up near 40, and that's a killer.
Yeah, I think he had like 10 years on, but still in good shape. Um,
Mhm.
uh, Man, he was jumping in the air, punching him. He was just a punching bag that fight. I mean, he
Mhm.
tried really well, but he wasn't opening up. wasn't going blow for blow. It was a good fight. I mean,
Mhm.
he won a few rounds, but it was just all Benavidez. He really put paws on him. Even though to me, I felt like he didn't have that power.
Mhm.
Like the power wasn't there, or he would have been put him to sleep. Or this
Yeah.
guy just had a unnatural,
Right. Iron
uh,
Chin.
yeah, Iron Chin
Yeah.
or something like that, man. But
Yeah.
he was definitely touching him, and it was fun to watch. That was a good fight. It wasn't as exciting as the Tank fight, of course,
Of
or
course.
some of the other fights on the undercard. It was more of just it was one sided.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think, introduction to the division for Benavidez. So I'm sure he was trying to put on a good performance, but maybe not do anything risky and possibly, risk bigger fights down the road. I want to see him fight Canelo so bad, but I'm just so disappointed in Canelo seemingly ducking him. I don't like that at all. But at least he's not going to be able to pull the movie pull with Triple G because Benavidez is the younger fighter here, so he can't wait for him to get old and then go beat him and then hear some nonsense. So we'll see what Benavidez is going to do here. I want to see what he and Canelo can do. I think he would beat Canelo, but I thought a lot of guys could beat Canelo. So.
Yeah, that body. I don't know about that one, man. I would have went straight to his body if I was the other guy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
it didn't look like he was in no type of shape, and then he wasn't throwing enough punches. The body was wide open the whole fight, and
Hmm.
I just felt like he wasn't throwing enough. His game plan coming out wasn't to win. I think he was just in there to survive and get this bag. That's kind of what it looked like. But
Um, I mean, it's
you see,
possible.
you see that a lot though, man. Once the bell ring, you know, you still gotta bring your heart to the ring as
You
well.
got
Now the guy
nobody
was
could be
definitely
in.
fighting, but um, I mean, I saw that big belly and I was like, oh man, that's I went straight to his body.
Yeah, part of it also could be that this is his first fight at 175, coming up from 168. So when you're coming up in weight, and especially that first fight, your body doesn't look quite how it used to, obviously, and you're not maybe used to carrying that around. Because even when Triple G, who was always in great shape, when he came up to 168 from 160 to fight Canelo in the third fight, you could see 8 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but you could see the difference in Triple G. He did not look like he was in the same level of condition that he was in at 160, even though obviously he was only carrying around 8 more pounds. But when you're used to, he fought his entire career at 160, so I think it's going to look different. It's going to feel different until you get used to dealing with that weight, training with that weight, conditioning with that weight, and shaping your body with that weight. It's a different thing, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's go to the final boxing story we got. So unfortunately, Ryan Garcia, man. So we saw Ryan Garcia a couple months back, hand Devin Haney at the time. What was his first loss? Uh, really beat him up in that fight. Devin Haney had never been knocked down before. He had never lost before. Ryan Garcia, after a lot of craziness in the buildup, he was able to end Devin Haney's undefeated streak. There you see his first ever career knockdown. Now, let me give credit. Devin Haney was a warrior. He fought till the end. Some guys, the first time they get knocked down or the first time they get beat up, they don't really know how to respond. And he never quit. He kept getting up. He kept coming back, and he legitimately fought till the end. He wasn't running. He was, he was a fighter, and he went out like a fighter. But after all of that, we find out that Ryan Garcia pissed hot and popped for 2 performance enhancing drugs, which is very disappointing, I suppose, right? Because after you put in a performance like that, and then you find out that somebody is dirty, whether intentional or not, it takes all the shine, all the luster off, right? So the fight took place, I believe, Madison Square Garden. So the New York State Athletic Commission this week put down the suspension of 1 year on Ryan Garcia, which is tough because a fighter wants to stay busy, a fighter wants to keep getting paid, and I think they fined him. I can't remember what the fine was, but he got
Like
fined.
1 million, 1 million.
There you go. I mean, Ryan Garcia's got bread, but nobody wants to hand over $1 million anyway, right? But
Yeah.
but yeah, so he's suspended for a year. But I think the good thing there is Ryan Garcia has been exhibiting a lot of wild behavior lately. So when you're in that situation there, it's like, okay, you're exhibiting wild behavior, you acting up, but go ahead now. You got a year, take that time and just get right. Get your mind right, get yourself right, and then come back and be the best version of yourself you can be as a fighter. Your thoughts?
I don't think he's been himself since Tank knocked him out. I think he woke
Mm.
up in a different dimension. We got a different version of Ryan Garcia.
Mm.
Uh, but I mean, I think he's a great fighter. I mean,
I do
outside of
too.
his doping, but I think
Yeah,
he's a
that's
good
tough.
fighter. And in my eyes, like not knowing E, I mean, that was a good game plan he had because he beat Haney like he beat the Golden Child like he was
Yeah,
his kid, man.
he
So,
did. He
but I
did.
think everybody knew something was up
Hmm.
because he didn't he came out that fight fearless, right?
Hmm.
Came out fearless. Uh, like Haney punches. I like to see it fast forward a year or so. They do a rematch and it's clean, right?
Hmm.
And he set the record straight. I do know that he'll probably get a rematch. I'm almost certain that he'll get a rematch with Tank, right?
Hmm.
Because
I think
Tank
it's
said,
too
hey,
much money.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's a lot of money out there for that rematch. But
Hmm.
I'm definitely sure he'll get a rematch probably when he returned from his retirement or so or whatever. There's like 4 different boxers who retired this year and came back, and so
That's true.
um,
That's true.
there's talks that Haney is actually suing him now. So
Oh, he's suing him too? I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
he's suing him. Yeah, he's suing him as well. So that might be something else to watch out for.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, tough loss for the kid, man. You know, it's never good when you cheat. Never good
No,
when you cheat.
no. But I mean, did he cheat? Did he? I mean, remember when Canelo got popped prior to the first triple G fight, and he got popped for PEDs, but he said he ate some bad meat, some infected meat in Mexico, which I thought was odd because he never trained in that part of Mexico before prior to Triple G, and then he goes there. But anyway, that's a different story. But the point is, you never know, right? You never know. You might. I mean, at the end of the day, you're responsible for what gets into your body. Your team is supposed to be looking out for you. You're supposed to be looking out for yourself. And if you end up ingesting something that makes you dirty, then what can you do, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I seen firsthand, man. Tank, his crew, they take care of him. His team, they really,
Mhm.
really take care of him from meal plan and everything.
As
And
they should.
so, yeah. So when I look at what happened with Ryan Garcia, the first thing I think is like, damn, they really failed him,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
have him thinking that he needed a performance enhancer to beat Haney, man, like that should never happen. And if somebody did put something in his food before the
Mhm.
fight or so, shame on them. That's terrible. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, these young boxers he gonna suffer for it, man. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, so,
Yeah, I really should hope that he didn't actually cheat, but at the end of the day, none of that matters. So
yeah,
he's got a year. I just hope he takes this year. Like I said, I hope he gets right. Gets the right people around him and gets people that are gonna tell him, hey, you need to stop wilding. You need to do the right thing, whatever that is. If that's a closer embracing of faith, if that's going to whatever anonymous he may or may not need to go to, if it's rededication to his craft, spending as much time as possible in the gym, maybe. I mean, he's a huge influencer, so he's getting money from social media, but maybe he needs to back off of that some. We've heard all the studies about how negative social media can be with young people and such. So who knows? But he's really a talented fighter, and it would be bad for boxing if he doesn't get himself right. That's all I can say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you lose, people do some desperate things, man.
That's
To
true
stay
too.
on top. So, um,
Yeah,
good thing is you get to take a knee and come back. You know,
that's it.
they didn't ban him indefinitely, right? So,
Nope, nope. All right. What we're gonna do right now, if you're here and you wanna call in, give your thoughts on this boxing topic, and if there's any other fighters that you wanna discuss or bring up, you can do that too. Number is 904-219, was that 8264? 904-219-8264. There we go. So I do have it memorized. All right, yeah. So go ahead, give us a call, and we'll talk a little bit of boxing, and then we'll get on to the next one. It's not that serious. I see you, brother. Good to see you in the chat, man. Appreciate you. Average zero. Yeah, we about to get to this, man. This is crazy. All right. Well, it looks like we're not gonna have any calls on the boxing topic. Definitely was wanting to hear some thoughts from people on maybe who they were interested in seeing Tank fighting next, or what were their thoughts on Benavidez and Canelo. But I guess we're gonna move on to the I guess the main event of the night, right?
yeah, I realized I watched boxing I went to a fight party and
Mhm.
I was sitting around a bunch of folks who, they like the idea of boxing, but they don't really follow it. And
Mhm.
so, um, they talked through the whole fight, man.
Mhm. Right.
I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
used to
it's
this.
yeah. I think it's just because so many fighters and so many promoters and so many belts, and it's so difficult to follow it all. That's why I think you and I talked about it. Turkey Al Sheikh is trying to what I read was that his goal is to try and put together a league, a boxing league where he buys out a lot of the promoters. Oh, we got a call. Let's take this. Antoine, what's good, my brother?
It's all good, man. Um, regarding the boxing topic, I
Yeah.
don't know if it was Triple G. I don't know if it was Triple G that had the issue with the negative test or a positive test. Um, but the situation was about the whole eating meat thing and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was Canelo.
It is,
Canelo going into the
yeah,
first
Canelo,
Triple G
Canelo.
fight.
Thank you. Yeah, but it is that it is a certain way that they treat their meat in Mexico, where it does have what he tested positive for.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is he would have had to eat so much of that meat for him
Right.
to make a positive test that it wouldn't have made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So so is it plausible? The percentage of that is very low, but yes, but no, not for no fighter, not for someone who is as athletic as in shape as he is.
Mm-hmm.
He would have had to eat so much of that meat for to have had a positive test that
Right.
it's not realistic.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. I definitely agree. And I think the other thing is, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but I think I looked this up. He had never trained I don't think he had ever trained in that part of Mexico before. And suddenly he goes there to train for this Triple G fight, and then he comes back dirty. Like, to me, that looks real funny style.
It just, it's been so much weird stuff that happened in boxing anyway that if you're a purist, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to appreciate the art on its face because you never get the fights where both fighters are in their prime and you got all these different other scenarios,
Mm-hmm. It's the
that
promoters
hinders the interest. That's why the MMA has taken over
mm-hmm.
because you got the best fighters coming at each other at all times, and boxing has lost that element. You think about Ali, Foreman, Mike Tyson. Whoever was available, they boxed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
that's right.
And we don't have that anymore. It's almost akin to what's going on, in the NBA and stuff like that. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
these guys today, they want the money, but they want all the advantages. They don't want to win based on their own strength and their own integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue. And it's going to continue to be an issue unless they sanction in some way. Question to you: Are you familiar with the Cameron and Mace podcast?
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I've listened to that.
Yeah. And they said something on it that actually made sense, and I wish a lot of people look into it. But apparently, it's someone, I think from Saudi Arabia or overseas, that's trying to sanction all of boxing.
Yeah, Turki Al-Sheikh. He's the Saudi Minister of Sport, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I think you must have got in after G and I discussed that. And he's, from what I read,
I did.
Okay,
I did.
Yeah, but from what I read, he's trying to buy out a lot of the promoters and put them all under one boxing league. That way, the promoters can get out of the way, and that they can no longer be an excuse for the big fights not being made.
Yeah, you already beat me to the point, but that with Cameron Mostly, he made a very good point about what the issues we have, like the biggest fights that we want, they can be sanctioned now because they don't have anybody getting in the way. There is no middleman because he has control over everything. So they have the money, they have the resources, and they have no interference if he's able to accomplish this. So I think I hope he's able to do it because that's going to take boxing in a whole different direction, and then people get the fight that they want.
Mm-hmm. And then in a situation like that, you're going to find out who's really a coward and who got a heart. You're going to find out who's suffering from tiny heart syndrome for real at that point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You be no running and hiding, no ducking. All right, good stuff, Antoine, man. Appreciate your call as always, man. It's about to
no problem, man.
The next topic's about to get real hot, so stay with us, brother.
Man, I got words for this.
No doubt.
I'm ready to listen. All right, brother.
All right, man. Thanks for calling. All right, G, you ready to do it, man?
Oh yeah.
All right, let's get it. All right, so we know year in, year out for probably the past what is this, 2024, almost 10 years now, I guess. The argument, the discussion, one of the major topics in sports and of course in the NBA has been this so-called GOAT debate. I say so-called, I put it in quotation marks because I don't believe there is a debate. Michael Jordan is the GOAT, plain and simple. That's that. For a variety of reasons I've detailed on this channel many times. But this isn't about that. Not necessarily. So what we got here? Sneed, what's good, my man? How you doing, bro? Yeah, you checked in right at the right time. We about to get to it. Hot topic here. So, we know that based on what we've heard, unfortunately, there's some there's some plants in the sports media, guys who have made it clear openly that they're with Clutch Sports, Nick Wright, and then you hear other guys who the stuff that they say is just absurd, i.e., your Shannon Sharps, and then some of these guys come around, like Kendrick Perkins, he just recently came around. So, you got that, but the LeBron James and Michael Jordan thing is going to go on and on and on, and a big part of it is generational, a big part of it. And the sports media, unfortunately, you're seeing they control a lot of the narrative that comes out of that discussion, right? Because if you talk to a lot of the younger fans or the target demographic of the modern NBA, guys who didn't actually see Michael Jordan play, and they're telling you LeBron James is a GOAT, well, that's fine that that's their opinion. Okay, cool. That's their opinion. But what you're hearing is they're parroting so many of the quote unquote talking points that you hear from guys like your Nick Wrights and your Shannon Sharps, like almost verbatim, right? So one of the things that I've always gotten like really pushed on is when it comes to LeBron arguing for being the greatest of all time. First of all, it was ridiculous that he had to tell us he was the greatest of all time. If he was, we would have known, but that's fine, whatever. But one of my biggest arguments is, why is it that when LeBron fans tell you he's the greatest of all time, that his own work can't stand by itself? What do I mean by that? His body of work, his career, and I always say it, he's had an all-time great career, but he's not the greatest player, in my estimation. But his body of work, to me, can never stand by itself, because what you always see and hear are the attempts of LeBron's fans and the pro LeBron media to disrespect Jordan. What do I mean by that? They disrespect his competition. They tell you the plumbers and firemen nonsense, and they tell you Jordan couldn't do this, Jordan couldn't do that, like the nonsense, oh, Jordan couldn't go left. And well, we refuted that right here on this show, but it's also nonsense. That tells you they never watched the dude play. And then they talk about, oh, he never played any good teams in the finals, all this type of nonsense, right? And they find all these different reasons, all these different ways to try and denigrate Michael Jordan, instead of just saying LeBron is this, look at him and you'll know that he's the GOAT. The same way we can look at Michael Jordan, see what he did, and know that he's the GOAT, right? Then they start throwing stat after stat after stat at you, right? As if you can compare stats across eras without context, just like that. Well, LeBron James is the all-time leading scorer in the history of basketball. He absolutely is, and that is a phenomenal accomplishment. A phenomenal accomplishment. I'm not being facetious when I say that. It really is. To think about someone averaging 27 points a game over the course of a 22-year career, and what is it, 20 straight years over 25 a game, G? I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
I mean, that's crazy, right? That it really is. But then you start adding in context, and it's like, yeah, well, there's this and there's that and there's this and there's that. The game got played differently and the rules changed and blah blah blah. Okay, cool. This is not about that. This is not to take shots at that. So anyway, where am I going with all this? So recently we heard Tom, let's see, irony, LeBron is overtly cheating and the paid media is sycophants for him. They're denigrating MJ's accomplishments to build up LeBron. This is insultingly absurd. Oh, it is. And it's going to get worse. It's not that serious. It's going to get worse. But so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think 2 days ago, Tom Haverstraw, I think he used to work for ESPN. He now writes for Yahoo Sports and he has his own Substack. He wrote a 6,000 word article. Crazy, right? And basically what he's doing, as you can see by the thumbnail and by the title of this show, is he is attempting to tell us that Michael Jordan's 1988 MVP season is phony, and he's utilizing that with the help of a guy that we're going to hear from shortly. He's utilizing that to basically take a shot at Jordan, which not inadvertently, I guess, which ends up propping up LeBron. So before I even get to the very first clip we're going to use from, of course, Nick Wright, #1 media plant and open clutch client. I've been talking about this for a minute here to start off this segment. Give me some of your thoughts on what you thought when you first heard about this, and what what I believe they're trying to do. I can't put words in your mouth, but what I believe they're trying to do. Where are you on this, man?
So initially, I thought it was just bogus, or I thought it was fake news. I'm like, what? Somebody digging up the archives
Hmm.
to see if he was Defensive Player of the Year from 1998, and I was like, wow. Well, what would make somebody want to dig up the stats for just him winning the Defensive Player
Hmm.
award, right? Like, and I thought about it. I'm like, all right, well, I just watched this little media take where LeBron was talking about how he felt like he was snubbed for Defensive Player award, and that
Hmm.
he came in second, but the guy that came in first wasn't even on the All Defense first team or something like that.
Yeah,
And
Marcus.
then I was like, yeah, and I was like, well, okay, all right, well, maybe this is just I kind of fell into the whole LeBron era, MJ era, the GOAT debate. And then I
Hmm.
thought about it. I was like, well, maybe this is some form of like counter information operations where, the last couple of weeks, this guy was like really getting dragged by the media. And so to
Mm,
change the tides and kind of build, because it's all a narrative at this point, right?
yeah.
It's all about spinning a narrative. And so you've been taking a hit lately in the media. And so this could be one of those things where, hey, let's start digging up people stats. Like I
Hmm.
said this before, I was like, well, I don't know, maybe we should start, you know, auditing
Yeah.
these stats, right? Because it could go either way, but at the same time, it's like once it's said and done, maybe there should be a little bit more emphasis on fact checking before these stats are actually published,
Hmm.
right? Maybe somebody should do that. And even if it did, like let's say for instance they did give them a few stats, that's not to say that doesn't happen all the time, right? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm sure it does. I mean, playing ball myself, you can tell like sometimes they give other people, steals, rebounds, or whatever. Like as long as you want to put even points, sometimes, right? And so, um, yeah, not to draw it out any longer because I know we got some B roll to go through, but I just felt like it was why now, right? Like why now? It's
Well,
1998. Like why
yeah,
now? You
88,
know,
88.
88.
So
Oh yeah, that's crazy work.
so here's the thing, right? And I'm with you 1,000% on that. What kind of gets me, and we'll get to the B-roll. We got some time here. We got to give this the attention it so richly deserves. But I think a big part of it is this, right? So we see Sneed here saying, thanks for the comment, Sneed. A lot of people claim home team stat keepers were padding their guys' numbers across the league, meaning it wouldn't be an MJ specific problem. If all are doing it, then why are they trying to discredit MJ? And so that gets to, I think, the biggest point here, right? Because that season that Michael Jordan had in 1988, that season was mythical. It was legendary because one, Michael Jordan is the only player in NBA history to ever be defensive player of the year while still averaging 30 points a game, right? So that's crazy. You never see anybody lead the league in scoring but still be defensive player of the year. That speaks to a level of physical and mental toughness because you know how hard it is to really lock in on the defensive end, but to still be able to be the leading offensive player in the league, like the amount of energy that would take is phenomenal. That doesn't even make sense, right? And so we have that. And then what happens is one of the things in the GOAT debate, a lot of people like to throw out there, and it's funny because this is something I never even mentioned when they start racking up and talking about accomplishments. A lot of people will say, well, Michael Jordan has a defensive player of the year. I know Stephen A. Smith said it, and they'll say LeBron James does not have a defensive player of the year. My argument is more so Michael Jordan was 9-time All NBA first team, LeBron James 5-time All NBA first team, and I don't even think he deserved that, but he got that. So that's it, right? If that's fine. He's 5-time All NBA defensive first team. Michael Jordan is 9. So I never even really bring up the defensive player of the year, but that I think is why this thing is in attack mode, right? So here's the thing. Jay Strong was good. I think you're new here, bro. I haven't seen you before. Go ahead and do me a favor, click that like button for me. Matter of fact, everybody listening, please click the like button. This whole thing against Jordan is definition of a bad faith argument. It is, but we're gonna get to it because apparently they did some legitimate research on it. So anyway, here's my problem, right? Here's my problem. Well, first, let's take a look because Jordan was an absolute terror on the defensive end. So it's funny because for years I actually push back against this argument. You hear a lot of people who are on the Bron camp, oh, all Michael Jordan did was score. But if you actually watch this dude, and see, that's the problem. A lot of people saying things didn't actually go back and watch. Like, we saw all this in real time as well. We've gone back and watched, right? Because we know what it was. And to some extent, our nostalgia says we want to go back and see some more. Michael Jordan was just an absolute freak, right? And so he was held defensively, right? He was strong enough to defend 1 through 3, sometimes 4 if it was a smaller 4. He was explosive and athletic enough until Dwayne Wade broke it, and it took him longer. He was the all-time leading shot blocker among guards. Like, Michael Jordan, when he was young, was crazy blocking shots. And obviously he was a thief as well. You see, he was an elite help side defender, and he was always able, the crazy thing, he was an elite help side defender, but he was also able to always get back to his original assignment. And that is insane, right? So we're going to hear them talk about how the steals numbers specifically were juiced up. And before we do that, let me just read. I looked up what is a steal as defined by the NBA rulebook. And it says in the NBA, a steal is recorded when a player intercepts a pass, legally takes the ball away from an opponent, or otherwise obtains possession of the ball following an opponent's turnover, as long as the clock hasn't stopped and the ball remains in bounds. Essentially, it's a defensive play where the defender gains control of the ball from the opposing team. This can happen through intercepting a pass, knocking the ball away, or capitalizing on an opponent's mishandling of the ball. So the problem is a lot of this stuff becomes it becomes subjective, right? And so it's like, now you got a situation where maybe one guy says, oh, it's this one referee in Kansas, I'm just picking a random place, says that's a steal, and another referee in New York says no, it's not a steal, right? And so yeah, no, absolutely, cat quick on offense and defense, you're absolutely right. Jordan specifically spoke to his defensive tenacity that year. He said after 87, he was so focused on proving people wrong about his defense, he was hunting steals. Yeah, I heard him say that. And here's the other thing that we also don't forget, right? Jordan was an extremely sound, fundamental player, defensively and offensively. Why? Because Dean Smith wouldn't let him loose, right? He spent 3 years in college at UNC with Dean Smith, learning the fundamentals, doing it the right way. So this is not a guy that's out there just wilding, running around. But let's go ahead and we'll start with the clips. And the first one I want to play is from Nick Wright. And okay, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but you know that he was very excited to talk to us about this. So let's hear the first clip, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little bit.
Get the Pulitzer Prize ready. Oh my goodness, Tom Haberstroh. Yahoo Sports, a 6,000-word opus with firsthand video evidence of something we've also always suspected, but Tom has blown the lid off it. Michael Jordan's 1988 Defensive Player of the Year award, fugazi, fraudulent, inflated stats. How about this from Haberstroh on Yahoo Sports? Just dropped. So Michael Jordan recorded the largest home road splits in Defensive Player of the Year history. So what does that mean? So Michael Jordan, that year that he was chasing the Defensive Player of the Year award on the road, when there was seemingly, a neutral scorekeeper, he averaged 3 steals and blocks a game, or per 36 minute stocks. But at home, those numbers jumped to 5.5. Now, was he just better at home than on the road? Is that common? I don't know. It's a difference of 182%. Say it again, DeMonte.
How many ass stocks was he getting?
Oh, I don't know how many ass stocks, but this is just Defensive Player of the Year, so it's just the stocks, just steals and blocks. Tom Haberstroh got full game footage. How about this? Full game footage where he could watch and track every single play of 6 Jordan home games in 1988. The game film in those 6 games, Michael Jordan had 12 steals. The home box score, how many extra steals could they have given him? 2, 3? He had 12. The box score, 28. There was a game where they credited Michael Jordan with more steals than the other team had turnovers. Might put a little different hue on the old GOAT conversation. Everyone should read it. It just dropped. It is Sports Pulitzer, Tom Haberstroh. This is you know what I call this? Real journalism. What a legend Haberstroh is. I haven't read it, But, you might say, Nick, if you haven't read it and it just dropped a few minutes ago, how do you have all this info? I might have been aware that something like this was coming. I might have been behind the scenes consulting on the project. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just here for a fair and accurate reading of NBA history. That's all I want. That's all I've ever wanted.
So it seems to me he only wants a quote unquote fair and accurate reading of NBA history when it helps his guy LeBron in this ridiculous argument. So G, before I pass it over to you, because I know you got some thoughts on that. First, I didn't mention this earlier. One of the things that got this whole thing started was maybe a year or two ago, we heard a guy who was an NBA statistician, and he was talking about Utah and how guys were cooking the books for stats for John Stockton for assist numbers, right? And so if that's the case, let's say that's the case. Let's say, okay, Nick Wright is cool. Why is it that no one made a big deal about this and went and wrote a 6,000-word article digging into the stats with John Stockton? If that's the case, why is it Mark Eaton, who one season averaged 5.7 blocks per game, 5.6, which is still an NBA record to this day, right? Why did no one go check that out? Why? Because they're doing what we know they're trying to do. They are trying their damnedest to break down Michael Jordan's legacy, but it's not going to work. Yeah, Jay Strong, that's the thing. So what they're doing, I think how they believe is going to change the GOAT conversation is because a lot of people say, well, Michael Jordan has the Defensive Player of the Year. LeBron never got one. That's what I think. AOH has a myriad of footage. He sure does. Listen, if y'all like legitimate basketball stuff and a lot of facts, well, if you're a LeBron fan, you're not gonna like it. But Angry Old Hoops fan got some stuff, man. He will rip your boy. Sneed, we're definitely doing call-ins tonight. After this segment, we're gonna call. Jay Strong, great point. Of course, the Defensive Player of the Year was not the only thing that made Jordan the GOAT all this time. But what they're trying to do is they're doing everything they can to put chinks in the armor any way they can, whether it's BS or not, right? Now, they're going to come, and you're going to hear it later. They're going to really try to explain away all the research that they did and all of that to try and come up with this stuff. And it should be interesting. It's a longer clip, and we'll play it. But before we get to all that, G, I know I'm running off at the mouth here. This is a topic that got me super excited, man. But where are you with all this so far?
I think if you're going to make a fair assessment, then you should audit the entire 82 games and not just the home stats, because it could fall into one of those situations where, maybe they wasn't being fair when he was away and it's slighting him, and that's just, might have been common practice. I don't believe this is going to stop him from, continuing to being a GOAT. Like that's, there's more to the story than just, points and stats, right? Like the impact that this man had on the game in itself, right? Is we've never seen that before.
Right.
The love he got from people leaving, like the older cats that came in after before him, right? Like, and even how these younger athletes or younger basketball players or superstars, I should say, how they embrace him when they see him when he walk into on the rim, and so that speaks. That speaks. Man, it's no way that you can kind of look at MJ and say, oh well, he's not the GOAT because of one Defensive Player of the Year award, right? Like that, I'm sure he earned, right? But let's say, for instance, we go back and we start auditing everybody's stats, and then what point does that make? Like that's not Michael Jordan's fault that that the people not doing the job that they supposed to do. That's not his fault, and so he shouldn't be held accountable. His legacy shouldn't be held accountable, and the fact that people's digging stuff. Just digging in MJ's stats is crazy, man. Like it's unheard of. But I guess there's an agenda there as well. There has to be an agenda.
You don't say.
And so,
yeah. I think the point is, it's like you find that chink, right, and then you start hitting it more and more, and then it's like you watch kung fu movies, G?
Absolutely.
Like the old school ones. Remember Five Deadly Venoms, right? For those of y'all who don't watch kung fu movies, bear with me. So there was this guy, he practiced, great movie, all-time classic. He practiced the Toad style, and he had an invincible skin. like you could try to stab him and the sword would bend or whatever, and he had an invincible skin. He only had one weak spot, but once you found that weak spot, his invincible skin was punctured. And so I make that reference because I believe this is what Nick Wright and Clutch Sports and LeBron James are trying so desperately to do, is find that weak spot in Michael Jordan's invincible skin, like the Toad, right? If you listen to the Mystery of Chess Boxing on the first Wu-Tang album, I know I'm dating myself, that's from like 9-3, but on the first, that song, it's number 6 on the album. They actually use a sample from the 5 Deadly Venoms talking about the Toad style on the intro to that song, The Mystery of Chess Boxing. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is they're trying to find Michael Jordan's weak spot to do away with his invincible skin, and they can't do it. They're trying desperately. And again, it keeps going back to the same thing. If LeBron is so far and away superior, like the LeBron fans want me to believe and want you to believe, and Clutch Sports wants you to believe, why do they have to try so hard? Why? Nino, what's good, bro? Good to see you. I blame MJ fans for this. Now that's interesting. You're gonna call in and you're gonna tell us about that. I can't wait to hear from you. I think I see where you're going, but I'm gonna let you tell it. But yeah. So now we see they did all this research and they went back and blah blah blah. And that's a great point, G, that they really should have done all 82 games, but they're not going to, and they're probably going to make the excuse that they can't find the footage from all those games, when I'm sure they could just, I guarantee that beyond a certain point, I'm sure the NBA has every game, right? I'm sure they can, they can get into that library. But anyway, what we're going to do now, and this clip is about 5.5 minutes. It's from a really good segment on The Odd Couple the other night. Normally that's Chris Broussard and Rob Parker on Fox Sports Radio every weeknight, but Rob Parker was out covering some baseball stuff. So Ephraim Salaam, former NFL offensive lineman and Fox Sports Radio guy, he was in for Rob Parker, and they actually had Tom Haverstraw, the author of the article, on the show, and he was breaking down some of this stuff. It was like a 30-minute segment, so obviously I couldn't play all of it for you, but I got about 5 good minutes of it, and just sit back and listen to that, and we're gonna get back and we're gonna talk about that. All right, so here we go.
This is the LeBron is the GOAT camp is putting your article in frames and putting it on their wall. I'll tell you that.
Well, it is something that I was cognizant of as I was reporting, is that LeBron James has been talking pretty much every year of his career about how he's never won Defensive Player of the Year. And he's really wanted to. And he took issue with Marc Gasol winning Defensive Player of the Year and finishing in the second team all defense. And it's something he's talked about on the shop. And I knew that Michael Jordan's Defensive Player of the Year award, just covering the league for as long as I have, it's one of the most consequential, if not the most consequential, Defensive Player of the Year awards in NBA history, because it sets him apart. It is his crown jewel in a sense. Compared to Magic, compared to Kareem, compared to LeBron, they don't have that on their resume. And so I always knew that it was a very special award. Rudy Gobert has a Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it's not necessarily the Defensive Player of the Year is held in such high esteem. It's that it's a differentiator in the greatest of all time conversation. So when I had heard that there was a 1990s NBA statistician that was admitting to cooking the books and greasing the stats, I said, what year would have the most disparity between home blocks and home steals and the road? And I wanted to just research this objectively. And that's when it happened, guys. I researched it, and the guy that came on the top of that list was Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and I could not believe it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And Chris and I were talking about this earlier. Let's just say you take Michael Jordan's Defensive Player of the Year award away from him, right? You move all of his trophies out of the way on the trophy case, and you pluck that thing out of there. And then you pack all the rest of the stuff back in there. He still was first team all defense there, right, that year, correct?
Sure, he was. Yep.
In the games you watched, Tom, did you feel like his defense was not nearly as good as advertised? And because we know steals don't just, that's not the measure of great defense. So what'd you think of his defense overall?
He was an amazing defensive player when he gambled and it was successful. It was great. I mean, he was the best athlete by far. It was like he was transported from another planet, this guy. When you're watching him, remember, this is his 4th year in the league. He's 24, 25 years old, and he's just sensational. This guy was by far the best athlete. I remember watching a game, 2 of them, when he was playing the Hawks, and you almost forgot that Dominique Wilkins was on the floor. That's how magnificent he was on both ends of the floor. But the problem was, and Pat Riley talked about this in the papers, and I actually quoted it for my story, he was a very different defensive player than Michael Cooper. I mean, very different than your standard guard because he gambled so much. He was a guy that, he bet that he was going to get back to his man in time. If you made the pass to the open man, he was going to cheat off you and double and swipe and try to block your shot. And a lot of times it works, and a lot of times it compromised the defense. And I think, we've talked about it, with whether his teammates, whether it's, Charles Oakley was out there, Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, John Paxson, they were all out there, and they were doing great defense too. But Michael was so much more athletic than everybody. And the thing was, I didn't want to take away from his defense in general. He was a good defender, but in terms of whether he got that many steals and got that many blocks, when I watched the film, I didn't see it. And another researcher that watched the games too, he would have 1 or 2 steals a game, but it wasn't 5, 6. And at times he had as many as 10 that season. And of course, when you go and look at I know it's great, 10 in a game. When you go and you look at the NBA official video, when they do the highlight clip of his 10 steals, they only show 6 of them. And that was when I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And so that's what led me down this path.
So even 6 steals is my point being that whether they cooked the books or not, and it was like in the article, it was a common thing. That's just what was going on. But just watching him play both sides of the ball, they didn't cook the books when he was scoring 35 a game, but just his presence and playing both sides of the ball, his energy, to me, doesn't negate that award, because to me, playing defense, like we were talking about, is bigger than the steals, is bigger than the blocks. It's about your presence out there and what you can take away from the opposing team when they need it the most.
All right, G, I got a lot, but you first, man. I definitely want to hear what you got on this.
I mean, they couldn't put it any better, right? Steals don't necessarily make you. It's the reason why you always win Defensive Player award. And the fact that he pointed out that in the games that he did watch, he noticed that he was still a supreme player, right? A supreme player compared to everyone else. I don't think the patent, the stats. I mean, when you travel, your stats, sometimes your stats aren't what they're supposed to be. So maybe they just did their due diligence. I'm still gonna stand by that. I don't think none of this super research that they're doing is the test pool is muddy, right? 6 games, 6 out of 41 home games. I think
6 out of 41 home games. That's right.
Yeah,
14%.
So that test pool is tainted.
Correct.
It's tainted.
Come on, you get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for sound bites, man. That doesn't change anything. But again, you're an excellent researcher there, because I had no idea that there was a wave until I watched and this recently came across my feeds. It was LeBron, talking about, the only thing that he wished he would have gotten is, his career was defensive player of the year award. And the year that he did came in second, the player only didn't make the first team. I keep saying that because, it was right after that this article kind of came out, almost as if it was put in play, man. I don't know. This is weird. Weird basketball stuff right here, man. Getting in the weeds.
I think LeBron said that a while ago, but I think that might have been what kind of got Nick Wright going on this, because this looks like an article that took plenty of time to research and to write. Again, 6,000 words, and supposedly finding the tape and all that. But But to your point, I'm sorry, I cut you off, man. I didn't even mean to. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, the only other point I was saying is like outside of everything, this is probably the only thing that they can debate, right? The only thing that they can kind of try to devalue, right? They can't take the 6-0 from him, right? In the
Mhm.
finals, can't
Right.
take the MVPs from him, right?
Nope.
So it's like this
They're gonna
is
try that next.
this
They
is the
gonna
only thing that you can debate, man. It's almost like
um,
I don't know, man. The kid that takes the ball and go in the house when everybody's still hooping, like in the middle of the game, it's kind of giving that same like snowflake vibe, man. So
mhm.
good topic though. I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, man. But so this is where again I give LeBron a lot of credit. I think he's so smart in the way that he knows that just about everything that he says can be turned into major publicity, right? So now people are going to go back and look at him further and say, should he have gotten defensive player of the year? That's going to be the next topic, right? Should he have been defensive player of the year that year that Marc Gasol won it? Sneed, I don't know how many total he made. I know Michael Jordan made 9 first teams. So I don't know how many total he won. I'm sure there's probably some second teams in there a little later when he got older. But I know he made 9 All NBA defensive first teams. Yeah. So my bad. I'm throwing these up here. These guys arguing in there. But yeah. So you're looking at this thing and you're saying, man, LeBron is so smart in the way he knows exactly what to say and how to say it because it's eventually going to work in his favor to some extent, right? All right, so we heard some things in the clips, and Haverstraw was talking about something that never happened since Defensive Player of the Year was awarded, and what did he say? Kareem, Magic, blah blah blah, right? So again, being a little disingenuous, right? Because first, we know Magic, although he led the league in steals 3 times, he was not known as an elite defender, right? So the difference with Michael Jordan is, again, watching him, not just looking at box scores, but actually watching him. And this is the thing that drives me nuts. Even though they said they watched 6 full games, did they really watch it? They were watching to count steals and blocks, right? But you got to watch him. Like, we know this dude was an absolute terror as a defender on the ball, in passing lanes, in space, on the help side. He was a terror. He could lock guys up. So it's not just you're watching it for, the express purpose of counting to see if the numbers are correct versus the box score. Watch to see what's being done. And clearly they didn't do that. But cool. So the only guy that he mentioned that possibly could have won a defensive player of the year would have been Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, correct? The defensive player of the year was not even instituted as an NBA award until 1982-83 season, by which point Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was already in the league. I want to say, when did he retire? 1989. So he'd already been in the league 13 years before that. So he was on the back end, if not out of his athletic prime already. So the time that he would what's going on? All right, G2 for these. I don't know you. You're new to the channel. Appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like and that share button. I appreciate it. Matter of fact, everybody, if you haven't hit the like or the share button, please, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you do that. Yeah, it's not that serious. Man Down Sports definitely did destroy this topic. He did a great job with it. But I'm gonna do my thing too. Yeah, so yeah, where were we? So yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he would have been on the back end of his prime and or out of his prime, 13 years in the league already. You don't see guys that are in the league that long win defensive player of the year. You just don't. So again, kind of disingenuous by Haverstraw. This is why I get frustrated, because these people know exactly what they're doing, right? So the next topic. So he says when he found that out, he wanted to do the research objectively. He's lying. He's lying. And how can I tell you he's lying? He says he wanted to do the research objectively, but Nick Wright admitted, and Nick Wright, we know, who's a clutch agent, right? And he's a known LeBron guy in the media. He's the one that admitted that he was behind it all. So how could Haverstraw be saying that he wanted to do the research objectively when you have an extremely biased individual behind the whole enterprise? So there's that. All right. Next point, G brought it up. They only did 6 games out of 41 home games. That's 14%. How is that a proper sample size? How is that a proper sample size? Listen, I didn't do so great in statistics. I think I got a B. I don't know how I pulled that off. I don't remember anything about statistics, but I'm pretty sure 14% of a total is not a viable sample size. If you're doing any type of if you're doing any type of legitimate survey or anything or study, 14% is not a viable sample size. It's not good enough. Okay, next. Remember I told you guys I'm a communication grad, right? Communications with a concentration in multimedia journalism and production. I understand how important words are. So you could tell when Haverstraw is talking about Michael Jordan, when they're asking him, to tell us what did you see about Jordan as a defender, because it's not just about steals, right? And he's saying, well, oh yeah, he was a great defender. He was out of this world, blah, blah, blah. Cool. But listen to the verbiage that he used. Oh, he gambled a lot. And when it worked, it was great. So that is a way of sending a backhanded compliment, right? So you're saying he gambled a lot. But what you're not really saying is he was elite enough physically that he could play the passing lane, or he could come help side and he could still get back to his guy in the event that he was off or a second late or it didn't work out. That's what you need to be saying. But instead, you're trying to say, well, he gambled a lot. And when it worked, it was great. But when it didn't, it kind of wasn't good for the defense. But we haven't heard any coaches or anybody complaining about that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, definitely. I heard that it's that serious. Yep. If you go further in the segment, they were discrediting Russell and Wilt. Yeah. So he being Tom Haverstraw speaks to, and it's in the article if you guys want to read it. I suggest, because it's 6,000 words, copy the article and put it into an online reader that will read it to you, because 6,000 words, it'd take you forever. I love to read, but that's a long one. But anyway, later in the article, he talks about longtime NBA scribe, Hall of Fame contributor to the NBA, Bob Ryan, who wrote for the Boston Globe for like 50 years. And he talks about how back in the day, there was a lot of concern about stats being padded in terms of the rebounds of Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. But again, that's more. Great point. It's not that serious. If you work for LeBron, how are you going to be objective? You can't. You just can't. Okay, so next point. Where were we? So we heard about the verbiage and how Tom Haverstraw, for a writer, is trying to be slick with words, thinking other people aren't going to catch that. Guess what, Tom Haverstraw? I'm a writer too. Okay, I caught it. Okay. Next. He says how and this is kind of a continuation of the whole gamble thing, how he says that it would compromise the defense. And I'm like, how? Right? So we know that at the time of his retirement, he was the all-time leading shot blocker among guards. He's still top 10 in steals. How was he compromising the defense? Clearly he wasn't, right? Because he made so many great plays. He made so many great plays. So there's that. And then we heard him also talk about how he was so amazed, like 10 steals. Yeah. Can you believe it? Yes, I can believe it. A lot of guys throughout the NBA history have gotten 10 steals in a game. Let me name two of them for you. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon and the Admiral David Robinson. And those guys were centers. So let's not act like it's so inconceivable that a guard with elite physical tools, explosiveness, a guy who ran 4.3, right? Sub 4.4 40 time at 6'6", and we know had the highest vertical on record, right? For the NBA. Obviously, they didn't measure Wilt's vertical, but Michael Jordan has the highest vertical on record, and he's a sub 4.4 guy. Why are we acting like it's so inconceivable that he couldn't get 10 steals? When we see two centers, we know for sure got 10 steals in a game. Come on, man. We got to stop this. We've got to stop this. We know what they are doing. We know what they're attempting to do. Any pushback on anything that I brought up there in terms of my commentary on Tom Haverstraw's words?
No, the only thing I'd like to add is when you look at just steals and they highlight steals, right? Like it's more to the game than just stealing the ball.
Yeah.
Are you taking into account how many turnovers you forced, right? Like, how did he lock down his player? Did he force him to pass the ball off? Like, there's so much that go on in defense, and that award to just, discredit steals I think that doesn't do anything. That's not gonna do it for me. Yeah, because back then, like, watching Mike play, man, he played high intensity. He took pride in playing defense. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, he even like released a few defensive videos, right? He was
Yeah.
selling videos as well on how proper way to play defense. So you actually have a teacher, an instructor, I should say, in basketball that you grew up watching, and he's showing you the right way to play defense. You know, you see the man in the ball at all times. Those types of things that your coaches started echoing, you know, later on in like high school and college, you started seeing like, damn, all right, Mike was already playing and teaching this. And you can see about it, how well these guys defend. I mean, you talking about they went 70, was it 72 and 10 or something like that?
72 and 10, yeah, in the
72
90s.
and 10.
Yep.
Hey, there's no way you do that just playing offense, man. Like there's no
Mhm.
way. You know, so yeah, that's bogus, man. These guys are bogus.
Yeah, it's just so amazing that they have to go through all these machinations and try all of this and do all of this to discredit Jordan because their guy's work doesn't stand on its own. I keep getting back to that because I don't understand it. But here's the other part, right, that we're not even thinking about. Now we're going to see guys who have access to grind and issues with Michael Jordan. They're going to be coming out with their nonsensical takes. For instance, we see his former running mate. If you're listening now, appreciate you sending me this. And this was sent to me by a guy I went to J school with. He sent it to me earlier, and we got Scottie Pippen now coming with nonsense, right? Say I deflected the ball and I tapped it over to MJ. I should get the credit with the steal, right? Nope. More often than not, the steal went into his column in the stat sheet, and I could do nothing about it. One night, a scorekeeper came into the locker room to hand the stat sheets to Phil Jackson. I couldn't believe the look the guy gave Michael. CMJ, we took care of you. Now, I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm not saying that. What I am, however, saying is when you're dealing with Scottie Pippen and he's talking about Michael Jordan, we really can't take anything that he says for gospel, because if you go back on this channel, I did shows where I exposed Scottie Pippen for saying all these different things that keep changing, right? And so it's problematic for me to listen and take anything seriously that this dude says. And I guarantee you, not I guarantee you, but I would assume that Isaiah Thomas shortly enough is going to come out with some commentary as well, knowing that he's got an axe to grind with Michael Jordan. I've also done shows on him talking about how, as great a player as he was, he needs to stop this because he keeps changing and going all over the place with what he has to say about Michael Jordan. And unfortunately, we know that part of that is, in relation to his personal issues with Mike. And so all this, man, all this is just, it's so crazy to me. I can't believe it. And again, back to an earlier point that I made, if juicing the stats in this era was such a big deal, why are they not going back and looking at Mark Eaton, who averaged 5.6 blocks per game? Why are they not going back and looking at John Stockton, who they say they juiced up the assist for him, right? Because here's something to think about. When it comes to John Stockton, even if they were cheating the assists, right? If they took 1,000 assists away from John Stockton, he'd still be 2,000 assists ahead of the next closest guy, right? So let's just say hypothetically that, to your point, G, they're trying to take stuff away from Jordan. It doesn't matter because he's still an elite, probably top 3 or 4 defender of all time, and we know he's the number 1 offensive player of all time. It's a fair thing that he's the greatest player of all time. Most people still think that. So even if you say, okay, let's take, and that's what we heard was it Ephraim Salam saying, if you go and you move all the trophies aside and you pluck that one out, does it change anything? And it doesn't. But they're so freaking desperate to try to do something here. It's crazy, man. Down, what's good, my G? Clutch Sports is hard at work. They really are. They really are. It is absurd what they're doing. It's absurd what they're doing. And to that point, it wouldn't change anything, even if they took that defensive player away. But what they're trying to do is find every possible way that they can degrade and denigrate Michael Jordan and his legacy. And what they're not realizing, I've said this time and time again, in doing that, all you're doing is showing that your guy cannot stand up on his own. That's all there is to it. His work doesn't stand on its own, nor does he. It's plain and simple. No, that's a great point. There's never a cogent argument against MJ, and there's never a cogent argument for LeBron. That's true. That is true. And I think it's not that serious. You were the one who said this a couple weeks ago when I did that show, really breaking down everybody from teammates to media members suddenly telling the truth about LeBron, when you said isn't it interesting how all of a sudden when they're telling the truth about LeBron, they start making sense? But it doesn't make any sense when they're trying desperately to defend this dude and lift him up over Michael Jordan. G, you want to go ahead and last comments before we go ahead and open up the phone line? Because I'm hoping this one is going to have
when did LeBron? Okay, so I'm gonna back up. Like, so
Yeah.
what I'm starting to see now is LeBron is a newer style player, right? We never seen a player with his skill set, so to speak, right? Total package 6'8", 280, something like that. And so we never seen a player with his skill set, say with a pad, put the stats together the way he's doing it.
Correct.
But when did he come? When did he surpass Kobe? Is the question, right? Like,
man,
when did he surpass Kobe? I know that's a whole nother. I know that's but I mean, it makes everything else moot, right? Like, if he never passed Kobe in a lot of people's eyes, then how is he able to throw rocks at the throne right now?
And so that's the other problem. But as we know, there's been a concerted effort as well to try and disregard Kobe and kind of push him out of the way and get to a point where we can make LeBron the guy, right? Because obviously Kobe's not here anymore. God bless the dead. So that makes it even easier to push him to the side. But even before, my thought was always, as great as Kobe was, that Eagle Colorado really, really hurt him. And I think that the league was afraid by lifting Kobe up that they would be put in a position where they would get attacked by a certain segment of the population, right? At the end of the day, though, Kobe, his talent and his work ethic was so mercurial that there was nothing that you could do to try and keep him down because he was that good and he worked that hard as a player. Because think about this. We remember even when he would be in Colorado going to court and then he'd come back, he'd fly the private plane back and he'd score like 40 points that night. You know what I'm saying?
Like 9 40-point games, and it's crazy.
Right. So he'd come back. I think, wasn't he in the playoffs? I think they were in the middle of a playoff run during that whole thing. So he's going to court in Colorado during the day, hopping on the private jet, coming back and playing, which obviously we know that would never fly now. He'd be on, whatever the NBA equivalent of the commissioner's exempt list is. And of course, the Lakers would get fried terribly if they gave him the private jet to go to a criminal trial for, sexual assault, which in no way we are advocating. We are in no way here at the Format Podcast advocating any form of sexual misconduct. Let me make that clear. Now, that said, Kobe was able to overcome that because of his dedication to his craft and his greatness on the court. Didn't happen right away, but it happened over time. But I truly believe that is one of the biggest things that allowed LeBron to kind of step in and bypass Kobe. That's what I think.
He's not guilty, right?
Yes. No, well, not guilty. He settled. He settled. So however you want to take that. But again, totally different story. But yeah, I think that the whole Kobe thing, I don't think he ever bypassed Kobe. And see, people are gonna say, well, look at the stats. At the end of the day, man, stats are one thing, context is another, your eyes are the third, man. Like, when people who say LeBron is better than Kobe, like, do they actually watch? Like, did they really watch Kobe play? Probably not. But they've watched LeBron play, and they have been conditioned constantly by the NBA media and the sports media on the whole with the narratives that they're hearing, right? So, that is what it is. All right, you ready to open up these phone lines, bro?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. No comments.
All right, let's do it. Listen, y'all know the number, 904-219-8264. I want to hear from you. Let's go. Yeah, man, it's that whole when did he bypass Kobe? That's a whole nother thing, and it's so amazing to me that they can continue to push that false narrative that he's better than Kobe. But again, they're gonna say, well, he's 16-6 all time in his career against Kobe, and blah blah blah. And I get it, and he's got the stats, and I get it, but use your eyes, man. Use your eyes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that thing, right? Like, where you see people who watch. I was telling you earlier, right? You got people that watch boxing, right? And then you got people who follow boxing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's different when you following it versus you actually watching a player play. You know, it's a little different. There's certain
Mm-hmm.
things that you want to see and you listen for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Tim D, Kobe, Magic, Kareem, Russell far better than LeBron. This is if you want to do the super team argument. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Wow, no calls on this? 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Definitely thought that we were gonna get some feedback on this. Sneed, I know you said you wanted to call in. Definitely would love to hear from you. It's not that serious. I know you said you had something to say about this. Nino, you're usually a good caller. Right here. We're gonna give this a couple minutes before we move on to the next topic, man, because I really want to get some feedback on this, and hopefully we can do that before we move on. And we don't want to be stuck starting the next topic and then having to go back to this. So we'll hold off a couple minutes.
Kobe not guilty.
What do we got here? Oh my gosh. Whoa. Okay. Bang Sports and Entertainment. Good to see you. Appreciate you checking in, man. Thank you. Thank you. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure y'all hit that share button too, man. Get the channel out to more people. A lot of good content on here. Me and my brother, we do our thing here. Bronze just simply better. All right. Banging Sports Entertainment. You see the number on the bottom of the screen. I'd love to hear from you so you could tell us why LeBron is better. Nino, what's good, man?
Man, I heard too much blasphemy going on.
Man, let me hear what you got. What you got, Nino?
Man?
What you got, man?
Listen, I blame all the MJ fans. You know why?
Why?
Because MJ fans never felt that pressure. This debate goes to show me that LeBron is in the GOAT debate.
He is not, but go ahead.
I take the GOAT debate as it's more fan, it's more personal. It's not realistic, really, but this is what we love to do.
That's true. Antoine, call me back. Let me get finished with this call, and then we'll get back to you. Call me back, Antoine. Yeah, my bad. Go ahead, Nino.
This is not tennis or golf. This is basketball. It's a team game. So the GOAT debate. And I'm saying that MJ fans started the discredit first. MJ got the same fans Bron got. Is why I say the GOAT debate is real. Kobe ain't got these type of fans. Kareem don't got these kind of fans. Magic got these type of fans. Nobody discredited Kareem. He had one move. Well, Kareem could play ball too, but he had a go-to move. And I think people, you see it in the comments. They holding against LeBron because he stole in the paint. What kind of scoring the basketball is scoring the basketball?
All right, can I stop you on that though?
Get in there.
All right, so check this. I understand why they're saying what they're saying about LeBron scoring in the paint. Scoring the basketball is scoring the basketball. However, okay, let's say this. Here's an analogy, right? If I have to run 2 miles and you have to run 2 miles, right? I run the 2 miles and I run it in 16 minutes, right? That was about my time when I was running 2 miles regularly. So I run the 2 miles in 16 minutes. Cool. And then Nino comes along and Nino runs the 2 miles, but he runs it in 10 minutes. I'm like, damn, that boy Nino fast, man. He just smoked me. He ran the 2 miles in 10 minutes. But let's just say when I ran the 2 miles, I ran it uphill. You ran it on a flat course. How much faster are you really than me?
Not that much. What you get? What you trying to say? I see what you saying.
Okay, cool. So I'm about
to.
Right. So
talk to me.
Right. So this is where this goes. Right. So when Michael Jordan played, there was hand checking. When Michael Jordan played, the game was more physical. When Michael Jordan played, he played against five of the top 10 all-time shot blockers. When Michael Jordan played, there were real power forwards. They were shooting less threes. So the paint was more packed, right? And so Michael Jordan was doing all of this against what? A greater level of difficulty, right?
So now hold on. Can I step in on this?
Absolutely. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. Now on this one point, these people love to make. I went back and watched them, like, because now people take this as we saying see, this is what I'm saying. Y'all be talking like LeBron. So I don't want nobody in the world to think. I think of MJ sucks back in basketball. MJ is the man. He who LeBron watched. All this, he couldn't go left and he didn't play defense. That ain't even worth discussing. That's what I want. And I'm a LeBron fan. That ain't worth discussing. But in MJ era, Phil found the triangle. The triangle was moving pieces. Phil found a way to move the big, got the paint, throw the ball in to MJ. Okay, now when you watch basketball in the 90s, was there a such thing as illegal defense? You could not sag off of your man like you do now and play like a zone. You had to be within a certain perimeter of your man. I went back to watch the Jazz.
That's cool. Go.
Is that a fact?
Go on. Yes, technically. Go on YouTube. There's plenty of videos showing that Michael Jordan did actually face illegal defense. And you'll see, face zone defense. They just got away with it. And if you like Google it, you'll see there's articles written on it. But go ahead.
And I seen in the finals against the Jazz, they called it a lot, which it was the defense. So, and then the next point is people act like LeBron. Well, like LeBron is one of the most amazing athletes of his time. Now you're gonna appreciate this.
Yes.
If you do the combine, LeBron was not more athletic than Michael Jordan in his day. Who got the higher jumping? LeBron. Jordan, compared to the people he played against, was miles away. Even if he played today era, he'll still be one of the most physical athletes it is. At 6'6". There was nobody that had the skill set almost compared to Jordan. So what I'm saying is LeBron and Kobe and them watch Jordan. They got Jordan. They want to be Jordan. Y'all say they ain't Jordan. They watching Magic. They skill. They worked on this stuff. They want to be Jordan. But y'all telling me it was harder in big man basketball when it was only one MJ. How is it harder when Jordan had nobody that could do what he do or come close to it?
So I just explained to you when in terms of the scoring, it was harder to score. For instance, okay, check this out, right? When I don't know if you heard me say this on the show before. James Harden, 5-6 years ago, averaged 36 a game, right? I think I'm right on that, right, G? I don't know how long when he was in Houston, right? So let's say 8 years ago, he was in his physical prime. He averaged 36 a game, right? James Harden averaged 13 3-point attempts per game during that season, right? And he made about 4.5 of them, right? About 37%. Okay, averaged 36 a game. And we had people in the sports media telling us that James Harden was the greatest perimeter scorer of all time. So that includes all the guards. Okay, cool. Now, Michael Jordan averaged 37 points per game in, I want to say, the 87 season, right? 37 points per game. Do you know how many three-pointers he made that entire season? Take a guess.
Probably 1, 2. They didn't shoot 3 then.
12. But yes, you answered the question, right? You answered the question. They didn't shoot threes then. So he's playing in an era where you got to get to the rim or shoot the mid-range, which analytics tell you is a more difficult shot. He's playing in that era, right? And so he's dealing with that. He's dealing, like I said, with packed paints. He's going to the rim. You got guys like Olajuwon there. You got Kareem there. You got Mark Eaton, who I mentioned earlier, who still has the NBA record for highest block shots per game average in the season at 5.6. So Kareem, Mark Eaton, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson. Later in the early 90s, in comes Alonzo Mourning, in comes Shaquille O'Neal, right? Mount Mutombo, right? That's 7 guys all in the top 10 all-time NBA shot blockers. Michael Jordan had to deal with all of them. Who is in the top 10 NBA shot blockers that LeBron had to deal with in their prime? I'll wait.
But it ain't about shot block. It's not about shot blocking to me. Jordan, when Jordan won, like in the finals, Jazz, he didn't play against all them good shot blockers, and he was shooting jumpers mid-range. He was playing in the system in his game. So nobody. Well, I'm saying nobody else. Okay, you say that. Who could score? I'm gonna say nobody though, because I don't think Bron played against just valid shot blockers. I'm gonna answer the question because I'm honest. Now, who did Jordan play that could score like Steph Curry and Kevin Durant?
Okay, so different era, but I got you. Who did Jordan play that could score like Kevin Durant? Karl Malone, who was just until last year the number 2 scorer all time in NBA history, right? Clyde Drexler, who, when Michael Jordan played against him, stop. Hold on. When Michael Jordan played against Clyde Drexler in the finals, Clyde Drexler was one of the top scorers in the NBA. I think Clyde Drexler's career high scoring average is like 29 a game. So that tells you he was an elite scorer before he got old, right? Remember when, I don't know how old you are, Nino, but when the Blazers played against the Bulls in the finals in '92, there was a legitimate question at the time. People were asking who's better, Clyde Drexler or Michael Jordan. That's part of the reason Michael Jordan went off like that, because he was like, yo, I'm not trying to hear this.
They were asking foolishness.
I'm going to destroy this dude.
Yeah, that was foolishness. There was no, like Charles Barkley.
Right.
Can you really compare Charles Barkley to Michael Jackson? Michael Jordan?
No, you can't, but Charles Barkley was killing that year, right? So that year, he was a monster. See, but people want to, they don't look back and truly do the study. Native Texan, what's good, my man? Good to see you in here. Good to see you. Trying to set up something, Native Texan, that you'll enjoy on the college football piece, man. I'll definitely let you know when that's gonna happen. But anyway, yeah, Nino, the reason I was bringing up all the top 10 shot blockers is because one of the earlier things that you mentioned was people in the chat were saying LeBron gets all his points in the paint, and I'm telling you, and that's when I first started with the running analogy, that it's so much easier for LeBron to get his points in the paint now than it was when Michael Jordan was getting his in the paint. That's also why I brought up James Harden shooting all those threes, right? I think he made over 350 threes that season, where he averaged 36 points per game. Michael Jordan averaged 37 and made 12 3-pointers. So I'm bringing all this stuff up to show you, yes, the game was different. Yes, you can't compare stats across eras, but it was a more difficult road for Michael Jordan. And that is why it's so phenomenal to see what he was able to do. And no, nobody's saying LeBron James is a bum, bro. Nobody's saying that. But to say that he is better or in the same argument with Michael Jordan is nonsensical. That's all. But let me go ahead and I got another caller. I know Antoine was trying to get in here and give his thoughts. Did you have anything else before I let you go?
I want you to do a segment on whenever you get time, if you don't mind, on finals competition.
Okay.
That's what y'all like to compare. MJ finals competition versus brother.
You know what?
I appreciate it.
We could work that out, Nino. Man, thank you for calling. And but check this out too, though, right?
I just got one thing to say.
The thing about, oh, my bad. Go ahead, G.
No, go ahead, finish.
Okay, yeah. The thing I was gonna say when it comes to the finals competition, the thing about that is simply people look at it now and say, oh, how many Hall of Famers were on that team? But back then, teams were built. See, people want to act like the Seattle Supersonics in 1996 weren't an outstanding team, right? Back then, people had positions and people had roles. It wasn't just stacking up Hall of Famers. That 92-93 Phoenix Suns team that Michael Jordan played in the finals and averaged 41, that was an outstanding team. That Blazers team, outstanding team. And that's what people miss out because they're so used to the way teams are constructed now, just, try to get the most Hall of Fame talent. But, G, go ahead. My bad, man.
No, I think so what we're saying here is two different eras of the NBA. One where, defense was probably one of the second most important stats in basketball. Now you're saying the NBA with an issue with players playing defense, right? But even with that issue of players having issue, even with the NBA having an issue with players playing defense, right? There's still no Defensive Player of the Year awards for LeBron, right? But if you go back and look, you'll see like this isn't something that just start happening overnight. Like I forget if I was talking to you or someone else, but we saw like the increase in scoring where they wanted to score more, right? And what that did, now we have all-star game where nobody's playing defense, nobody's getting back on. I think we had a segment about this a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, where we talked about them not playing defense. It should be easy for LeBron to get Defensive Player of the Year award every year because nobody's doing it.
Right.
That's my 2 cents.
Appreciate it. Antoine, what's up, brother?
How's it going, man?
Going well, man. Going well. You can see, obviously, it's a heated discussion.
Yeah, I listened to your segment, Nina, and I'm gonna leave some of that alone. I'm gonna give you an analogy. I'm not gonna be overt with it, but you'll understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Like today, we live in a world where you have to suspend your belief in what is actually real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people want you to confirm what they feel versus what reality is. And I'll leave that there.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. And so, in a weird way, that's kind of the way sports are today. We have to discount all these different things that's going on today with all the advantages that these players have today. It's weird to me that these players today get credited with so much when they get paid more for doing less.
Mm-hmm.
It must be bigger, faster, stronger, but yet they're easily injured playing less games.
Right.
And for me, they want me to ignore that because they're supposed to have better medicine and better technology. But all I see physically and tangibly that they're doing less.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they do this challenge about Michael Jordan and his GOAT debate and LeBron and his GOAT debate, to me, and I'm not doing a hot take or anything like that. I mean this when I say it. Putting LeBron in the GOAT debate is insulting to basketball on its face. Because there's so many great players that have accomplished more than what he has done, whether it's media bestowed award, or even championships that went through the gauntlet of things to accomplish what they had with lesser help. So when you put the greatest of all time, MJ versus LeBron, as long as MJ played, he had 35 All-Stars in his entire career.
Right.
LeBron has 118 and counting. So it's like, it's nonsensical, it's ignorant for this debate to even happen. They want to go with the whole quote-unquote longevity stat. But even if you talk about him scoring the most points, because they do use terms to make it sound different than what it actually is.
Right.
Yes, he has scored the most points in NBA history.
No question.
Excuse me. When he broke Kareem's record, you can do achievement every point he scored after that. He's the first person to score 38,000 points, 39,000. You can do that endlessly if you want to go that route. But when you look at it from an integral standpoint, what is his accomplishments, those milestones? What did he get from that? It wasn't a championship. It wasn't a scoring title. It wasn't a defensive title. It wasn't an assist. It was none of those things. All his quote unquote milestones was always in a loss. So when you look at the substance of what he accomplished, it's a joke. Then the fact that you actually know, we all know, that he has media members that's on his actual page. It's like, what are we talking about here? It's an insult to what the game is today. I remember your segment about the All-Star game. All the failures of today's game has LeBron's name and actions attached to it. And for those of us who are curious about the game, we see that and we won't let it go. All these weak arguments about what he's done and what he has accomplished, and you can't. And you've seen some of the posts I put. You can't give a cogent argument about what he accomplished. And when I look back at when he lost with Miami and how bad he played, they downgraded that. They try to overlook it.
Yeah.
It was abysmal.
Yeah.
It was one game where Dwayne had like 4 blocks. He's blocking power forwards and centers, and LeBron was standing there literally on the court biting his nail. And you want to call this dude the greatest of all time when he is one of the weakest-minded individuals who is called a superstar to ever play the game. This is insulting to intelligence anybody that loves this game and watch it in a genuine way.
Hey, listen here. Watch your mouth, Antoine, because no player has ever been able to drink wine on the sideline like LeBron. So you stop it, man. You stop it.
Hey, man, I don't have much else to add because if we just go talk about the differences and the nuance of the game, man, your stream will last for another 12 to 24 hours, man.
Nah, that's a fact.
But I just
man.
wanted to get that point out there
I
from
appreciate
what I
it.
observed and what I've seen, man. You have a great show, man, and keep it going, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate the support, man. You have a good
Oh,
one.
no problem.
All right, we got more stuff coming, so don't roll on me. We're going to be here
All
for
right.
a minute. All right, brother.
Yep.
There we go. Caller from Georgia, what's good? Who's this?
Yeah, man, this is Jay.
Jay, what's
I'm
good, man? I
calling
see
in.
you in the chat. Thank you for calling.
This is the first time I ever had to call on one of these joints, man. You and other brothers on YouTube doing this, and I sit and I listen to this foolishness, and sometimes I'm stunned. Some of the stuff that I hear some of these clowns saying, because for a long time when this first started, I didn't even take it seriously.
Okay.
Because it's so clear that LeBron is nowhere near Jordan's level. I saw Michael Jordan.
Facts.
I saw Magic. I saw Larry.
Right.
Seen them all. Seen Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the second half of Kareem's career. I didn't see Wilt in those guys. So if Wilt is better than Jordan, okay.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
But since 1984, there's nobody even really close to Michael Jordan.
Right.
And LeBron is so far below Jordan. I tried to ignore it for so long for that reason, because he doesn't have any of the.
I'm sorry. It's hard to ignore because you get so inundated with stuff over and over. It's not easy to ignore at all, man.
It's such nonsense. But some of the points I wanted to make that are just valid points is that, number one, when MJ came, our favorite players was Doc, the Iceman, Magic, Larry, I'm from New York, so Bernard King, you know. But we didn't try to tear down, when we saw Jordan was better, we didn't try to tear down any of these other guys.
Right.
We left Kareem alone. We left even Wilt, Doc, the Iceman, Magic, Larry, we left them alone. We didn't have to do that.
Right.
Jordan spoke for himself.
Correct.
We didn't have to tear down these dudes, man. Mike was so much better. I'm not saying so much better like that, but you know, he was clearly better. We could see that. We didn't have to tear these dudes down. These guys coming at Mike the way they are, they're making LeBron look bad. Here's another thing I wanted to say. Why is LeBron wearing Mike's number now? If he's better and he's making his own legacy, why did he change to number 2-3?
I think he's wearing 6 now, though, right? He's wearing 6 now, right?
Nah, he's wearing 23 last I saw him.
Okay, he went back
in
to
playoff.
Okay.
Yeah, he's wearing 2-3. How does that make sense? If you're supposed to be the guy you're taking down, why you switch to his number?
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's weak, bro. To me, I'm just saying. To me, that's weak. I'm just gonna say. Some guy was saying, who did Jordan play against? Man, look, who could score? Somebody was saying, who did he play against? Who could score? First of all, Bernard King was one of the best scorers we ever saw before he got hurt.
Facts.
Larry Bird was there.
Yes.
Alex English was there.
Alex English,
Kareem
people don't know,
was
he actually
there.
led the entire NBA in the decade of the 80s in scoring.
Exactly. Alex English every year was up near the top. You had guys like Marcus Jordan. These guys don't know these people.
Right.
And then when you mention some of them, they say, oh, he was nobody. Why? Because you didn't hear of him?
Yeah.
No, these guys were all-time great players who, guess what? They played defense on every play. You don't see that no more. No. Just one last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Look at, and this is what kills me too, when I bring this up, guys from this era, from this soft era, this Gen Z era, and some of the millennials too, but mostly Gen Z. They come with this nonsense about, well, all-star games don't count, so it don't matter. Bro, it does count. If you're talking about who's better, look at your all-star game. Go back. I'm saying to the Gen Z people, go back, look at the 1993 All-Star game and look how those boys got down. Is that when
Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley was really going at it for position on the block?
I don't know if it was but that was right after. It was the year after the Dream Team.
Yes, that was.
Go back and watch.
That was that year. Yeah, I actually played a clip of that on the last episode that we did, I think last week. And the segment was, and you could go check it on the channel. The segment was Adam Silver has to do something to try and save the All-Star game. And yeah, we actually played that clip here on the show with Scottie Pippen and Charles Barkley, like literally, like really going hard, fighting for position on the low block during an All-Star game. So I totally get what you're saying. I feel you.
And it was a beautiful thing to watch that All-Star game and compared to these last couple All-Star games.
Mm-hmm.
And then these boys are saying, well, it don't matter because it's exhibition. Nah, bro, you take pride in what you do.
Right.
You take pride in what you do. And check this out. Those guys, when they play pickup games, they play hard. So what you mean? Why can't they play hard in the NBA in the All-Star game then?
Something's
it's
wrong.
Just a different level of dedication, bro. That's all. So stop telling me these dudes are better now than they were. They are not better than they used to be. They might be bigger. They have better nutrition. They have everyone has a personal doctor now.
Right.
What's the problem? How come you can't play 82 games then, or 80 games, or 78 games? They're crying about this dude. Draymond Green was crying because they got to play 67 games.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
Facts.
They used to automatically play 80 games every year or 78 games every year without a second thought and still excel on the highest level. So, yo, that's all I want to say, bro. This stuff is just so ridiculous trying to take down Mike the way they are. They're making themselves look like females, to be honest. This is some corny stuff. It's like a female. We get into arguments with her, and she try to bring up old stuff and bring up, oh, well, you did this. Look, deal with me how I am now. You know what I mean? Tell me what I'm doing now. Tell me what argument do you really have? Stop trying to go back and find some weak point that you think will bring me down. You know, come on, man. This is just corny. It's feminine. I'm tired of these dudes, man. They need to grow up and learn sports. They don't know sports, period. Not just NBA. You can tell the way they talk. They don't know sports, period, how it works. But yeah, that's all I want to say, man. Peace.
All right. Before you go, man, quick question for you. He left. I was gonna ask him how he found the channel. But listen, hey, I thank you so much, Jay, for calling in, man. I appreciate you. If you're new to the channel, you're here in the chat, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button so you can share this channel out with other people who are sports fans and want to hear a different voice than a lot of what you hear in the mainstream sports media. All right. If anybody else wants to go ahead and give a call and give thoughts. Are there anybody who wants to call in and defend LeBron and tell me I'm wrong in how I'm seeing this, or defend Nick Wright and Tom Haverstraw on this topic? I would love to hear somebody who does not agree with me. If you agree with me, cool, you can still call, but I'd love to hear the opposing viewpoint. We're always here and we want to listen. G, what was your thoughts on the last call, man?
I thought he nailed it. I thought he hit all the points. It's a great calling.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take Snead? I think Snead was trying to get in as well.
I didn't see him call. I didn't see him call. So I know I saw it in the comments earlier. I was hoping he would call. Definitely wanted to hear from him. He's always very insightful. Okay. All right, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Good stuff. Yeah, we're here every Saturday night, man, and sometimes we do lives on Wednesday night as well. So make sure you got your alerts on so you can always know when we go live, because sometimes, as you can see, we come in hot. So we got a lot of good stuff on the channel. Make sure you go back and check that out, and anything you find that you enjoy, man, make sure you share that out to other sports fans. All right, looks like that's probably the last call on this topic. So that was a really good topic. Definitely enjoy. Nope, got another one. All right. Native Texan, what's good, my man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree with you on what you're saying and defending Jordan, and I really agree with that last caller. I thought that was a great call. He kind of hit all the points I wanted to hit, but I was just going to say, I'm a big fan of LeBron, and I have been since he came into the league. I had his Sports Illustrated that they had with him coming out of Akron in high school, and I've followed him through his career. And one of the things that made me a fan of him, why I really liked him, is LeBron himself was a student of the game, and he had respect for Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and all the guys that came before him. And then Mike Tyson, when he was training with Cus D'Amato, he had respect for Sonny Liston and all the old guys and all the greats. And it's the really great players and the really transcendent athletes in sports, they have respect for the people that came before them. They don't try to tear them down. And whenever LeBron fans or whatever try to tear down Jordan to lift up LeBron, it doesn't reflect well. And I don't think LeBron would tear down Jordan himself. I don't think he would be agreeing with Nick Wright and those guys about that.
No, he would. He just doesn't want to say it publicly.
And just because a lot of players, they play the same sport, but the game's not the same. Like you said, the '90s NBA and the '80s NBA, it's still basketball, but it's not the same game as now because the rules changed. It's like I would say Tom Brady was the I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from him. He has 7 rings. That's like the most championships ever. That's more championships than my Cowboys have. You know, he earned that title, but would he still have the same success if he played like in the '80s NFL or the '70s NFL? I mean, it's the same sport, but it's not the same game. You know, it's a different game. Would he have won 7 Super Bowls in the '80s, and that whenever they could give like concussion shots and they didn't throw flags for breathing on a quarterback and didn't have the tuck rule and all that? Would you know, how he may have won, you know, more than Joe Montana in the '80s if he played during that era, but you know, we don't know.
No, we don't.
But you have to, when you're talking about like you got like these younger generations, like the previous caller saying, want to tear down the old generations because all they know is what they've seen in their lives. They really haven't seen anything of the old game other than highlights. They don't really know how like it was played, and then they want to go back and just try to like tear down these old generations for no reason. They don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, I'm not even that old. I'm only 35, but I noticed on that TikTok trend a couple of years ago, like the '90s NBA is overrated, and they had all these guys trying to tear down. And I'm like, man, y'all don't know what y'all are talking about. They're like cherry picking these bloopers, and they're saying, see, they weren't even any good. We're like Steph Curry and LeBron and all the current players. They're better than all these old guys. You don't even need to like remember them because look, they're so bad. And it's like, man, y'all, well, this is really unnecessary. And it's what he said. It was like feminine energy. It's like this like pissy energy or whatever. They, you know, you don't have to like tear down someone else for someone else to be great. You can give respect to the people who came before, and you can still acknowledge the greatness of current players. You know, that's not saying Jordan's the GOAT. That's not like a knock on LeBron. It's not. You know, LeBron's
to them it is.
Great.
To them it is, right. So what I think is interesting to your point, I don't think it's just his fans, right? I think he sits back and he secretly loves the way his fans act in this GOAT debate. And the reason I say that, right, when people talk to Michael Jordan about being the GOAT, he says, you know, that's not fair. There's a lot of guys that could be in that discussion. I never had a chance to play against them. He always says that. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure Michael Jordan believes in his mind that anybody I play against, I'm better than them, right? He believes that, but he's never going to publicly say it. So when LeBron's fans and the media fanboys exactly are behaving this way, why is it that he doesn't come out and say, you know, I'm sure he's asked about it. Why would he come out and say, oh, that one right there made me the greatest of all time? He said he's the GOAT multiple times, and then he does the fake crowning himself gesture and all that. Why doesn't he come out and say, well, listen, you guys know that Michael Jordan was my idol coming up playing basketball, and we all thought he was the greatest of all time. I would love to have had the opportunity to compete against him between the lines, but since I haven't had that opportunity, we'll never know. There's so many great players in the past that are a part of this game and this game's history that, you know, I'll never know how I would have fared against them. Obviously, I'm confident, but I'll never truly know that. Why can't he just say that? Right?
Well, he should say that.
Right. But he can't because he won't because he loves it.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
It's an interesting discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Great discussion. Great discussion. You have anything else before I let you go?
No, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that real quick. That's all.
All right, man. I appreciate you calling as always. Thanks so much.
All right. Y'all take it easy. Bye.
All right. You have a good one. Okay. So, anybody else got any last calls on this topic? This has been a great one. And then we're going to move on to the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, which I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but there was definitely some things I wanted to say about that. G, you have anything else on this before we move on?
No, I think the general consensus was that, you know, this is a pissy energy, right? Pissy energy.
Yeah,
pissy energy
that's what somebody said in the chat. Yeah.
Kind of a.
There you go. I've never heard that term before. I've heard other terms. I've never heard pissy energy. That's a new one. I like it.
Yeah.
Next time you act up, G, I'm gonna tell you, chill with the pissy energy, bro.
No such thing over here.
I feel you, man.
Right. The funniest thing though I read was that the Celtics was talking about, and I know this is not a topic, it's a little off script,
Yeah.
but the Celtics talking about drafting Bronny.
That was funny. Hold him hostage.
That's diabolical, man.
Bill Simmons, a wild dude, man. That's all Bill Simmons. He's crazy. Oh man, yeah, I thought that was hilarious as well, man. I thought that was great. All right, so let's go ahead and leave it right there, man. We got a lot of great feedback from you guys. I really appreciate it. A lot of great feedback in the chat. Some great calls. But let's move on. That was a great freaking topic, man. I love it. All right, so next up, I believe that's me. Get on the mic for the symphony. I know I just dated myself, but that's all right. I think I listened to that song earlier today. Great song. Anyway, another one of the biggest stories in the sports media right now, Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. So probably run through this pretty quickly, but we know how much attention she's been getting. We know how she was getting a ton of attention even before she came into the league with Diana Taurasi's comments when she was in the Final Four in college, and Diana Taurasi was like, "There's an awakening coming," because she's basically, what was the quote? It was roughly like, "You can look all world when you're playing against 18-year-olds, but now you're going to come into the league against grown women who've been doing this a long time." And great point. And I think a lot of people who are Caitlin Clark fans, and they're very upset with what they're seeing in that she hasn't been able to walk into the WNBA and just dominate out of the gate. But the crazy thing is, like, if you're watching, and I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you I'm the greatest WNBA aficionado or anything like that, but I will say, if you've been watching, for instance, over the last 4 games, the Fever are on a 4-0 run over the last 4 games. She's playing a lot better. Like, if you're watching, she seems to really be getting much more into the flow of the WNBA game. She's kind of somewhat adjusted to the physicality. She's adjusted to the speed. She's adjusted to her teammates. She seems to be connecting a lot more with Aaliyah Boston, last year's #1 overall pick out of South Carolina. So that's going a lot better. And Caitlin Clark is, she's doing well. She's adjusting. And I think one of the biggest problems that she had in terms of the WNBA is she played in the championship game in March or April. And I want to say like 3 weeks after that, she got drafted #1 overall. And then it was, straight into camp and trying to get ready for the season. There was no time for her to get on a strength program. There was no time for her to really bond with her teammates in terms of, connecting with them and making that connection on the court the way she would have liked to. There was no time for her to continue to get her body ready. There was no time for her to rest. It was all a whirlwind, right? And so she comes into the league, and of course, with all the attention she's getting, they're going to want to go at her, right? It's kind of like when Lonzo Ball came into the league, right, G? And everybody was in straight attack mode because of, his pops, talking like crazy, right? And so she had definitely a rough start to her career. But even still, with that rough start, she's coming around, like I said, and she's setting records. What was it, last night? I want to say she became the 3rd fastest player, tied with Sue Bird in WNBA history to 100 career assists. So she's become a better passer. Now, with that said, she's got to cut back on the turnovers. She's averaging like 5.5 turnovers per game. That's rough. But that's going to come. Again, that's going to come. And a lot of people were making a huge deal that she didn't make the Olympic team. That, I think, is actually a good thing for her because she's going to get an opportunity for her body to rest while the league takes a break for the Olympics. So I think that's a positive thing, even though a lot of people were making a big deal about it. But my man Mel from Man Down Sports, he made a great point. If she's on the Olympic team, who are you taking off, right? Dallas Wings star guard Arika Agubinwale, she's 2nd in the league in scoring. She didn't make the Olympic team, and she's a killer. She gets busy if you watch her. So you look at that and you say, man, everything is going to happen in time. It's just, I think the expectations maybe were too big out of the gate. I don't know if you thought Caitlin Clark was going to walk into the WNBA and drop 49 on people like she was doing in college, pulling up from the logo. Like, she's got that range, but this is a different ball game. G, what is some of your thoughts on Caitlin Clark and what you've seen from her and kind of all this craziness with the WNBA in terms of her and, you know, all that?
Oh, so I think she's a offensive juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
Not at this moment, not at this point in
Mm-hmm.
time in her career, but I think later on. Right now, she's averaging 16 points.
Yeah.
16 points. She's shooting a little over 33% from beyond the arc.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they 7-10. And so, you
Mm-hmm.
know, why didn't she make the Olympics? Well, your team's not winning. The transition hasn't completely taken over yet. You almost halfway through the season, and you know, I don't think she's peaked yet. Right.
Nah.
Faster to 100, that's fine. But she need to get that free throw. And I think she only attempt like eight threes a game or something like that. So I think as time go on, we'll see more of Caitlin. But it's a tough league, like you mentioned
It
earlier.
is.
It's
Yeah.
a tough league. There's a lot of winners in that league. A lot of
Mhm.
winners. And as of yet, she hasn't won anything. So I think as time go on, she'll definitely be in talks. She might win an MVP later on down the road. Who knows?
Mhm.
The sky's the limit. She definitely has the range to do a lot of good things in the league. And I think as time goes on and people stop looking at her as, you know, an icon in the league and let her earn that respect that she deserves, right?
Mhm.
And on this level, she's gonna stay in the talks. We're gonna
I
see her
agree.
almost all the time. But she has to earn that. I think that's earned.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be given, right? 5 turnovers a game, just not gonna do it for you.
No, no, it's not.
Yeah,
Let me
not
push
gonna do
back
it.
a little bit on the Olympic thing, though. So, what some people might argue is that Candace Parker was #1 overall pick, and what some people might say, she didn't make the Olympic team. Breanna Stewart didn't make the Olympic team right away. So it 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 can take a little time. As great as, you know, as great as she has the capability of being, it could take a little time. So I'm not overly concerned about it because, like I said, just watching, you're seeing there is a difference already from the beginning of the year to now. And we're going to see another big time game tomorrow. The Fever versus Chicago Sky. And why is that a big time game? Angel Reese for the Chicago Sky. That is a huge rivalry. And I'm not saying it in terms of Angel Reese being the type of player, but that could be Magic and Bird going forward, right? Just because they have that rivalry going all the way back to college, right? NCAA championship game, Angel Reese won. Final Four the following year, Caitlin Clark wins. Now they come in the league. They're going at each other. They're the top 2 rookies in the league. Angel Reese is dominating on the glass, playing inside the way she does. I know you're proud of her from B More. She's a freaking
Absolutely.
muscle box, man. She gets down on the glass, bro.
Yeah.
She's not going to give you, you know, the splash plays like Caitlin Clark is, but what's the word I want to use? Junkyard dog. You know what I'm saying? And you need junkyard dogs to win. You need that. And so she's all over the glass and she's doing it. Caitlin Clark is en route to being the 4th rookie in NBA history to average 15, 5, and 5, and maybe I think the 4th player overall in WNBA history to average 15, 5, and 5. She's getting better. Her and Arike Ogunbowale, I mentioned her earlier. They're going back and forth for most 20-point, 5 assists, 5 rebound games in the league. She had passed her, I think, earlier in the week or last week. I don't know if she lost that, but they're going back and forth for that. It's just really good. Caitlin Clark is also the 4th player in WNBA history to make 43 pointers through her first 15 games. So, you know, and again, if you look at it, a week ago she was at like 29% from 3. Now she's 33% from 3. So she's starting to figure it out again. You know, she still needs time. She still needs development. And this break during the Olympic break, I think is going to be a very good thing for her. And then we're going to see when she comes back next year, a year in the strength program, a year with her teammates and continuing to develop and get better and tighten up on her tighten up on her handle and all those things. Man, hey, call in on the topic. It's not that serious. That's cool. It doesn't have to be a popular opinion. This is my show, man. I want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear what all you got to say. So it's not about always giving the popular opinion. It's, you know, saying what you feel as long as you're respectful, right? So yeah. So we're looking, and we're seeing Caitlin Clark in a lot of good. She's in a lot of good company in terms of what she's been able to do thus far in the WNBA and what she has the future to do. Now, I tell you what, she really needs to make sure that, well, she's got about 2 or 3 years left, but she got to make sure she's on the top of her game when Juju Watkins comes in, because that's the real one. Juju Watkins from USC, Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame, both of them are nasty. And, you're seeing more and more young ladies coming into the college game with better and better skill sets. So, Angel Reese, she need to keep working on her offensive game and keep getting better. And of course, Caitlin Clark needs to continue to improve, because you got some young ladies that are coming down the pike and they're going to be coming in to bring it to you. So, there's that. But anything you want to add, G? We'll keep this segment short and then we'll take a couple calls on it.
I think Angel Reese is probably going to win Rookie of the Year.
She's not.
She's averaging a double-double right now.
She is, but she's not going to win Rookie of the Year over Caitlin Clark. I can't see it.
You don't see it?
Nah.
Caitlin's only trailing ahead by 4 points a game. Other than that, her stats is like, 4 rebounds, 4 assists.
No, it's 5.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists. So she's top 10 in assists, top 20 in scoring,
number 1 in turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and listen, I can't. There's no defense for that. That's just something she's going to have to improve on. And that's all there is. There's no defense for that. That's terrible.
But I think I don't know. Caitlin she's like American Pie, right? Like everybody jumped on. Oh man,
I'm laughing because I'm.
Yes, everybody loves Caitlin Clark, man, and
yeah.
She's evolving in the league, and she'll be around for a while. She's like 22, I believe, like 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's good for business. The seats continue to get filled, so you're gonna see her. Yeah. She brings in the fans, and so as long as she brings in the fans,
that's right.
There's always gonna be a place for her.
That's right. To that point, G, you mentioned good for business. Thank you for reminding me. Do you know that 6 networks who broadcast WNBA games have reported that Indiana Fever games have set all-time ratings records for those networks for WNBA broadcasts because of Caitlin Clark? That's crazy.
I believe it.
Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be another huge one.
Yeah.
What's up, Bruce? Good to see you in here, man. I appreciate you. I'm not going to go as far as to say white privilege. I think that's a stretch. What I am going to say, I don't know if you were here last time we talked about this. 60% of Americans identify as white only. 12%, 13% identify as African American only or black, whatever term you want to use. And so it's not a factor of white privilege. It's a fact of you're seeing someone that more of America can identify with. And so that's helping, right? If you see, it's that whole representation piece, right? When you see somebody you can identify with, you tend to gravitate towards them. So I don't know if I'm going as far as to say it's white privilege, more so than just she's identifiable with a larger portion of the demographic. That's simple. All right, cool. So all right, let's go ahead and open up the phone lines. Anybody got any comments? I saw you, Antoine, you said you had an unpopular opinion on Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Definitely want to hear that. Let's go. Antoine, what's good, man? What you got?
What's going on, brother?
Yeah, man.
So let me ask you a question. What is your thoughts about the objective truth about any situation?
The objective truth about any situation. It's irrefutable, right? It has what do we call that? Oh man, I can't remember the term. I use it often, but the evidence is there in front of you and it's irrefutable, right? The objective truth is that I'm 6 feet tall. Like there's nothing that can change that. That's what I am. Without shoes on, I'm 6 feet tall. It doesn't matter if I believe I'm 6'9". I'm not, right? I'm 6 feet tall.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead. What you got?
And so I did not ask another question. As far as the things that you are entertained by, can someone force you to watch or pay for something that you're not interested in?
No. However, I may not know that I'm interested in something or entertained by it, but if someone possibly forces me to be exposed to it, I may realize that I could be entertained by it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you think, yeah, I don't like that, I'm not interested, and then it's like, like you got a lady, right? And she's like, hey, babe, do this or do that. And, I ain't trying to do that, right? But then you say, I'm gonna just go do it, shut her up. And then it turns out, yo, this wasn't bad. Like, I enjoyed that. You know what I'm saying? So I think there are situations where it can happen with exposure.
Okay, so from my perspective,
Uh-huh.
it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma said this.
Mm-hmm.
I can try anything you want.
Okay.
If I don't like it, I don't ever have to try it again.
Right.
And so my point is about the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
Since its inception, you could look up the numbers in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost $10 to $12 million since their inception.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter who the player was or the game. The vast majority of people aren't interested in it. That's one point. Another point, the things that they espouse. When you inject politics, whether it's identity politics or social, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
the average viewing person, that's going to take them out of the game. So that's two elements that's been happening with the WNBA since its inception.
Okay.
So now, if you make a statement about the reasons why you don't like the game, you give them suggestions about, what possibly may make the game more entertaining, what make it better, then they attack you. So it's three things that's against them that the average viewer is not interested in. And one of the biggest things that happened with the WNBA, and that's why I qualified my statement before I called in, is that with Planned Parenthood and the Afro-Gay community and all stuff like that, it put a lot of people off of that game.
Right.
And all the suggestions that was given to them by great players, no. It's just like they made an argument for it, accept what you give you, but it, at the front is just like being a consumer and business. It's like the customer telling you what they want, and then you buck against it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you possibly think that your product is going to be successful? It's nonsensical and illogical. And so let's take this to Caitlin Clark. Do I like her? I don't care one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's okay. She's bringing in ratings.
Mm-hmm.
But the WNBA is gonna cut their nose and legs and knees off despite their face because they can get the success on their own terms. People like Caitlin Clark, hater, lover, race, whatever it is. People love that girl. And to your point before I even called in about, the population, statistics, stuff like that, she's a draw. And another thing about her is she's a heterosexual and she espoused those type of views.
Mm-hmm.
She don't do it overtly, but she lets you know what her stance is.
Right.
She's dating a man and she has a desire to get married. Now, and one of the players, I can't remember her name, but when she was in the league, she talked about that over 90% of the WNBA is gay.
I think that number is a stretch, but I know exactly what you're referring to. And
I'm saying what she said. I'm quoting what she said.
Yeah. I got you. And she was saying how she was bullied for being heterosexual.
Yep. We're talking about the exact same thing.
Yes.
And so, you're seeing, Taurasi kissing a chick on the field. On the basketball court. All these different things.
Yeah, that's her wife. Yeah, quote unquote.
Right. The average viewing audience can care less about those type of things.
Right.
So if you want to make money, in some way, you're gonna have to cater to your actual audience that's viewing it. And the vast majority of individuals that view the WNBA are men. Women can care less about the WNBA.
That's a fact.
They watch the NBA. They watch, football, stuff like that. They don't
Yeah.
care about this stuff.
So let me interrupt
It's
you real
men-
quick. That's a great point that you brought up there, that women don't, for the most part, care about the WNBA. But it shows the hypocrisy, because those are the same people that are complaining that the WNBA players should be making more money and that men should be supporting the WNBA more. Well, hey, there's more of y'all than there are of us. Like, what's going on here?
I was getting to that.
Like, men should be supporting the WNBA more. Okay, cool. If not for men and the NBA, the WNBA does not exist. Like, the WNBA has been kept afloat by the NBA, as unpopular as that is, for the last 28 years. And it's no disrespect to the players and the work that they put in and how hard they work at their craft, because there's been a lot of really, really good women's basketball players out there, hence the 7 straight gold medals at the Olympics by Women's USA basketball, right? So there's been a lot of really, really good women's players. This is no indictment on them, but the product, to your point, hasn't been what it needs to. It has not yet turned a profit. And even with all the increase in viewership and merchandise sales and all that's come this year, they're still projected to take a loss. Now, in the next couple of years, I expect that to change. But I do get your point. And real quick before I let you go on, I just want to, what you said about people not being interested. Many people are not interested, but the numbers, at the very least, for the Caitlin Clark games would decry that. And I guarantee you, when we see the ratings on Tuesday for tomorrow's Fever Sky game, they're probably going to break more WNBA viewership records. But go ahead.
Okay, so you made 2 points I was getting to. So I'm gonna start with
my bad. I didn't mean to get ahead of you.
First. No, you all good, brother. You all good. Love the show.
Thank you.
No, but so my latter point first. If they don't change the way they promote the game and all that, they're gonna kill the only profitable interest that they have in Caitlin Clark. It is what it is. I don't care about your race or however you view this.
Right.
That girl brings numbers.
Yes.
She put butts in seats. She's actually selling out arenas. Why would you not promote that?
That's right.
And then show your game, show your defense, show your.
That's right. Take that chance
games,
to say, okay, they looking at her, but they about to see me, right?
Exactly.
I'm with you.
And that will expand the game to a significant degree. But the other thing, as in regards to the women in the media and stuff like that, like, Jamel Hill and pundits like her, we've seen these individuals at NBA games, but we've never seen them at a WNBA game. But yet they're the same ones that's beating their chest and yelling from the rooftops about how the WNBA is being treated. They're not only they're blatantly liars and grossly disingenuous when they spout these topics, because they're physically not doing the work to promote the game, on the space. So it's just like women is gonna be the reason why this league is gonna continue to fail if they don't change their viewpoint, if they don't promote it, if they don't invest in it. They're going to be the reason why this league inevitably fails. They keep going at the rate that they're going. And that's kind of more or less my take.
That's an interesting point, because I think you're right, because you're seeing a lot of young girls now because of, not solely because of, but Caitlin Clark being a major reason. A lot of young girls are huge fans of hers. They're buying her gear. They're going to her games. But who's taking them? Their dads are taking them to the games. So I get what you're saying. But I'm not going to get too much into that, because you know how easy it is to get canceled in 2024, whether you're telling the truth or not. But great call. I appreciate that. That's a great call. G, what you got on what Antoine had to say, man?
Yeah, only 1 point. I think when like 2 years ago, right? NIL started around 2 years ago, right? Yeah, around about 2 years ago, we started to see these players with their social media presence, and then being able to fill the seats, and that. If you watch the last 2 years of the NCAA tournament and those games, the NCAA men's gave us such a crappy show that we had to watch. A lot of us that didn't want to watch, we had to tune in and watch the women's NCAA tournament because it was more exciting than the men's.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying now is you're saying that wave of people that followed them through college start
Yes.
to follow them into the WNBA. And
Mhm.
I believe that's going to be enough for them to, with Juju Watkins coming next and
Yeah.
several others, you're going to see a wave where they start to break even and start making more money. And then
I
when they
agree.
can start making more money, then they can give you a better product out on the basketball court. But I think $200,000 a year is not a lot of money to live off of, as a professional athlete.
I was
Think the
about to
max.
say, shoot, let me make 200 grand for about 4 months of work. I'll do that.
Yeah, but I mean, then it becomes an all year thing, though.
Understand what,
You get
I
what I'm saying?
understand what you're saying, G. Yeah. I'm just being ignorant, man. I got you.
Yeah, yeah, but I think as time go on, I think this brand of basketball is what people want to see, and it'll
Yeah.
probably get better as time go on because
Mhm.
of what they're doing at the collegiate front
Yeah.
versus
Great
before,
point.
like social media wasn't a big presence. Yeah, but that's the
I got
only thing I had
one
to.
last point. One last point.
Yeah, go ahead,
And
Antoine.
yeah, I got one last point. The difference between the college and the men's and women, what was advocated for men was to stay in college for 2 years, but then it went to one and done. So you never can build something with those players before they went to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the WNBA, they have to stay in college because they're not doing the one and done and stuff. So you build something with that player, and then you can follow that to the WNBA. But once they get to the WNBA, it's not promoted the same. It's not advertised the same. It's not treated the same. So if they don't change those dynamics in WNBA, no matter what success these ladies have in college,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to translate to WNBA if they don't change how they treat the game, how they treat the fans,
Mm-hmm.
how they promote the game. It's not going to change. It won't change until they change those different dynamics. That's my only point to that.
There we go. There we
I
go.
disagree.
Antoine, great call as always, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right, brother.
Yep.
Gee, you were saying something, man?
No, I disagree on that last point, but this is a moot point. Like I don't know what plan they has in place. All I know is they was able to catch a lot of viewers, and myself being one over the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years, just by how crafty they played.
Mm-hmm.
I thought when I watched the men's basketball, it was lackluster on defense, not a lot of offense. It was pretty bad, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
turned most of the games off. But
Yeah.
as long as they keep putting the girls play hard, man. They play really extremely hard.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, they've been playing extremely hard,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be, like you said, it could be just that the point that they one and done, or they rolling out early, and there's not really a product a complete product on a court.
Right. Right. And you also don't get that opportunity to connect to the players the same way. Like when we were growing up, like I used to be a big Terrapins fan. You know what I'm saying? For those of you who don't know the Terrapins, University of Maryland Terrapins. I grew up probably about 30 minutes from College Park, right? 20, 30 minutes. So I grew up big Terps fan. Joe Smith and X Reed Hip and Keith Booth and all them dudes. And then Juan Dixon, and that's your Baltimore boy too. Juan Dixon and Steve Francis and the rest of these cats. I grew up loving that. And that's ACC time. That's also, Tim Duncan played 4 years and Randolph Children played 4 years and Vince Carter played 3 years, you know what I'm saying? And Ray Allen in the Big East at UConn played 4 years, and Allen Iverson 2 years at Georgetown, and Kerry Kittles 4 years at Villanova, John Wallace 4 years at Syracuse. So we grew up in a time when you could really connect to these players and connect to these teams in men's college basketball. You can't do that anymore. And that's why men's college basketball, I believe, has lost so much of the appeal. So with women's college basketball, you can see these players and really grow with them and develop a connection to them. And I think you have a great point there with that, G. All right, let's take it to the last topic, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right. So y'all know I got to get in an NFL topic, and I hope you're still with me, Mr. Native Texan. This is for you. So Dak Prescott. So this is an interesting one, right? So we know that last week what's my man named Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. He just got paid, I want to say $275 over 5-year extension. So that makes him his annual value is what, $55 million a year, tied with Joe Burrow for the most in the NFL. G and I did a segment on that. We both think he's grossly overpaid based on what he's shown so far. But unfortunately, that's where the market is. Now, what does this have to do with Dak Prescott? The way guys get paid in the NFL, if you're a top 1 or 2 tier guy at your position, it's whoever got paid last kind of sets the market. And I have been screaming and crying and kicking and banging the drum that Dak Prescott should not reset the market because he's looking at $58 or $60 million a year on his next deal. And I've been saying, if I'm Jerry Jones, let this guy test the waters and see that he's not going to get what he's looking for. Then he's going to come back to you and you can give him a more reasonable deal, because you still have to You still have to pay CeeDee Lamb. I believe he's holding in. You still have to pay Michael Parsons. You got to deal with 2 of the best guys at their positions in the league, and you have to pay them. Michael Parsons could end up breaking the bank and being the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the league. Right now, I think it's Justin Jefferson. Before that, it was Nick Bosa, but Myles Garrett, not Myles Garrett. What's my man's name? Michael Parsons. He could end up being that guy, right? And so there. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just saying. Right. You got to pay those guys. But guess what? You got to have the quarterback too. And so my thing has been, I've been kicking and screaming, don't reset the market with Dak, because he's not going to get you where you need to go. 3 straight 13-win seasons. Well, no, they were 12-5 last season, but 3 straight 12-win seasons. And what has that gotten you? Not even a conference championship appearance, right? And so that's been my thing. But when I went and I did the research, and Dak was number 2 in the league in passing yards last year, number 1 in passing touchdowns. So it's not like he didn't play extremely well. 2nd team All-Pro. Although had Dak Purdy not missed a couple of games, he probably would have been a 2nd team All-Pro guy. But regardless, Dak has that on his resume now. And so he and his agent, what's his name, Todd France, I think, he can go to Jerry Jones and say, yo, really? I'm not standing for freaking Trevor Lawrence being paid more than me. So he can go there and say, hey, pay me, cut the check, or I'm out. But here's the problem. So I've been saying, let him test the free agent waters. But what I didn't realize, Dak truly does have all the leverage. So right now, let me apologize to all the Cowboy fans that I was arguing with in the comments of my other Dak Prescott videos, because y'all were right. Dak Prescott has all the leverage. And why does he have all the leverage? Because if they let him walk, it's a $40 million dead cap hit next year. So you literally are stuck with $40 million on your books, and because you let him go, because you didn't repay him. So that was brilliant in the way. Yes, he does, native Texan. He sure does. So that was brilliant in the way that they structured that deal, so that they knew when the time came back around for him to get another bite at the apple, he would have all the leverage. And it was a brilliant move. G, man, your thoughts on this, because I've been adamant about not paying Dak Prescott. But what do? You are trapped in a spot. Unless you're Jerry Jones and you say, you know what, I'm a billionaire, I'm just going to eat it and start over. What are your thoughts?
Is it possible for them to franchise him?
No, because they franchised him twice last time before they paid him, he got everything he wanted in the deal. They'll take the dead cap hit if they let him walk. They cannot franchise him, and he has a no trade clause, so they can't even trade him unless it's somewhere that he agrees to go.
And they got Trey Lance on the bench, right?
Yeah, they got
Trey Lance. They got him for a 4th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
They gonna pay him.
They're gonna pay him.
They're gonna pay him.
Yeah. And I've been saying I wouldn't, but now I'm saying you kind of have to.
Yeah, but they will definitely work out Trey Lance. I think he's gonna work out preseason, and just to see where he's at. Yeah. He's gonna get a lot of reps to see if they can move, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it doesn't work out, they'll try to trade him or something like that. So,
but so I just thought about it, right? Since Trey Lance is probably making like relatively no money, when you compare it to other NFL quarterbacks, he's making no money. Would it be a killer if you let Dak walk, you have Trey Lance, and you say, well, he's not making any money, so I can afford to take this cap hit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if he was 12-5, like, you're not gonna want to replace that, right? He got you to 12-5 last year, the last 3 years, right? So you definitely want to win a season. You don't want to digress by moving one of the key pieces to your offense. Dak, I mean, quiet as kept. He's gonna get paid. It might be a 4-year deal. It may not be, a 5-year deal, but he's gonna get paid, bro. Like,
what about letting him? Man, this is tough. Because if you have him, so what about letting him walk, right? You deal with the hit, but then you trade up and maybe you draft Quinn Ewers or Shadur Sanders. Like, you got an opportunity.
That's funny. There was a rumor mill about him being a Dallas Cowboy. That's weird. There was a rumor mill about him being a Dallas kid, getting drafted by Dallas. Shakur.
I mean, yeah.
Shador,
You don't think Dion and Jerry Jones is talking behind the scenes about that? Dion already said there's certain places my son is not going to go. So you don't think that he's already talking to him? He got the number to the bat phone. You know what I'm saying?
I think you pay him. I mean, moving him right now, they lose a lot. They were still competitive last year. They just in a really tough division now, especially with the Skins coming back to life.
Right.
I mean, the Commanders.
My question is, G, how long can you be competitive without being able to get there? At some point, you got to cut bait and do something else. Being competitive every year, but not even making a conference championship game, I know that is killing the Cowboy fans. And, I always laugh, when Cowboys fail, but in all seriousness, I know it's killing their fans. I'd love to keep Dak. Yeah, I know you would for a reasonable amount of money, right? Not a market resetting deal, but he's in a position where he can demand that. And that's why I kept saying, let him walk and let him find out, because I can't imagine anybody on the free agent market paying this dude $60 million. I know I wouldn't, because, they try to put everything around him. But what has he shown that he can do? He can give you great regular seasons, but that to me is not what you pay somebody market setting money for. But again, that's me.
Hey, maybe you just get the 55 mil. Yeah, maybe you get the 55 mil. They need a running back. I think they got Gzik, right? Zeke is back.
Yeah, they brought Zeke back. So
that's a bigger problem. That's a bigger problem.
Yeah. Dak's greatest successes have been when he's had an outstanding run game behind him, right? We know that. So this is what I was saying. Again, I'm no Cowboys fan, but this is beyond common sense to me. When they could have got Derrick Henry at the trade deadline last year, why did the Cowboys not do that? Because this is what I'm saying. I don't believe in Dak, but if they had gotten Derrick Henry, they would have gone to the NFC Championship game and maybe even the Super Bowl. I truly believe that. He's at a level now, if he just gets that little extra, it'll get him over the hump. But he's not the guy to do it. But if they had Derrick Henry, that would have happened. And I don't know why Jerry Jones, knowing all the numbers that are in place when Dak has a 100-yard rusher, or, and seeing when Dak was at his absolute best, it was more managing the game and playing off the play action. I just don't get it. It's not that serious. It's not Dak's fault. It's Jerry's. Long as yeah. No, I get it. It is what it is. I get it, but at the same time, Dak also, and I've been saying this, he's just not that guy. Now, that said, he is in a position to get what he's demanding. But if that's the case, and you're Jerry Jones, you know all this. And I didn't know that about the cap hit before. Jerry Jones knows this. He should have paid him before. He should have paid him before all these guys start getting all this extra money. He should have extended him. But, that's why I'm sitting here talking about it, right?
Yeah. I'm not a big Dak fan, but I'm not a Dallas fan either. So
right.
I'm extremely prejudiced about my my Ravens.
No, I got you. But let's say, for the sake of argument, G, that you're Eugene Jones, right? and it's your team. What do you do in this situation?
You pay him.
I'm thinking you may have to. I'm thinking you may have to.
You have to pay him. Like, you have to pay him.
I did not think about this. Wow. Okay. What do you think about this, G? This is a good comment. That's a really good comment. I never thought about it that way. Wow. Yeah, some teams do better with drafting and developing, and some teams do better with free agency. But we've seen free agency turn the tide. Literally one right free agent, i.e. Reggie White, going to Green Bay, turned the tide and got them a Super Bowl. So it can happen if you grab the right one. So, yeah. Definitely should have grabbed Derrick Henry. I think that would have been a difference maker, native Texan. I really do. And I've talked to a few guys about this. I really think that would have been the difference maker.
I don't think they had a chance. I think he was a Raven last year.
Yep.
And they held on a little longer, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so those are my thoughts on this Dak Prescott thing. Getting ready to wrap it up here, but I definitely want to hear if anybody's got any calls and wants to have anything to say about the Cowboys and Dak Prescott and how they should handle this situation. I'll fully admit that I was wrong on this. I really I don't think they're in any position. I think Dak got him over the proverbial barrel, and they're gonna have to pay him. There's no way around it, and not just pay him, but pay him what he wants. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, if anybody wants to call in and give me their thoughts on this, let's go ahead and do that before we get out of here for the night. And by the way, if you're in the chat, and you haven't already, please click that like, that subscribe, click that share button so we can make sure that we get more people in the chat for next time. This was really engaged. I appreciate all that. But yeah, if anybody wants to call in and discuss that, go ahead and give me a shout. 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Yeah, the Cowboys in the spot, G. They are in a spot, man. All right. Well, doesn't look like we're gonna have any calls on that. I guess we're gonna leave it right here. Oh, before we get out of here, I gotta show some love to my guy, my favorite NBA player of all time. I'm gonna run back to the NBA real quick. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, the guy who I believe is the greatest center of all time, the guy who I believe is the second best two-way player of all time behind the one and only Michael Jordan. Today is the 30th anniversary of the Houston Rockets' first NBA championship. So 30 years ago today. Yeah. 30 years ago today, Hakeem had 25 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 block shots in closing out the New York Knicks in Game 7 of 1994 NBA Finals. So shout outs to my main man Dream. I know you probably won't hear this, but that was what I believe to be the single greatest individual season of any player in the history of the NBA. And that's league MVP, that's all-star, that's first team all-NBA, first team all-NBA defense, defensive player of the year, finals MVP, and the first player ever to lead a team in all the major statistical categories in a playoff run, which resulted in an NBA championship. Jokic has since done that as well, but Dream was the first to do it, and he didn't have a whole lot of help. He also had the least help of any finals MVP, if you want to go back and look at the numbers. Yeah, absolutely, Sneed, absolutely. Yeah, and you know how I feel about Dream, man. I feel one way because he's my brother, and the other way because just watching him play just it did something special for me, man. I absolutely love watching Hakeem the Dream play. Matter of fact, I saw something the other day on YouTube. I think he's like 61 now, and he was teaching young guys big man moves. Yeah, so he's so special. Swept Shaq, 2 consecutive chips, defensive genius, offensive. Couldn't have said it any better, Sneed. Couldn't have said it any better. That guy was absolutely incredible. So yeah, shouts to the Houston Rockets, 30-year anniversary today of clinching their first ever NBA championship. All right, guys. We're going to call it right here. Fantastic show tonight. Really appreciate all y'all. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate all of you who called. Appreciate all of you who engaged in the chat, man. Make sure that you continue to share the show. Tell people about it. Make sure you continue to be here. We're going to continue doing our best to bring you quality sports programming. All right. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Be back with you next time. And we're out. Peace.